Hey, look at that. Hello. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. How the heck are you? Yes, this is the open chat. Yes, I am the Lavender Lady. And yes, with me, I have a wonderful group again. First of all, we have the one, the only, the brilliant, the beautiful Kate Farr, Bionic Dance. Hello, my love. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right, I suppose. I mean, all things considered. I don't know. I mean, life is life right now, I guess. Now,
Oh,
I've been spending a lot of time getting ready for that move that's coming up in July, but other than that,
oh
you
my,
know,
yeah. July's closer and closer every day.
yep. And I also have that trip to Seattle coming up in the middle of next month, so
Okay, okay.
gonna do
That
the
sounds.
Fremont Solstice Parade one last time before I move east.
So, you gonna do some more naked rollerblading, or what's up for that
Well,
one?
that is indeed the idea, yeah.
Alrighty, sounds good to me. Don't mind at all. Oh my, oh my.
I just hope everyone at the parade feels the same way.
Oh, of course they will. I mean, you're easy on the
Uh,
eyes. Come on.
if they're closed, sure. Well, it's not
And
like I go around poking people in the eye constantly. I'm very gentle, very easy on the eyes.
there you go. There you go. What does everybody out there in Lavender Ladyland think? Come on, let us know. Um, let's see. One for Kate is absolutely beautiful, and three for I wouldn't want to look at her with a blindfold on, and then two's right in the middle somewhere. I mean, we've got the
Orion has come to say hello. This is Orion and
hello.
this is Leo.
Oh,
Oh, gee, it sounds like a little bit of a theme there.
Well, then there's Luna, who is, and Celine. Celine passed away recently, and they've been much more like up my butt ever since Celine passed away.
Oh my.
But
I have
Celine
no
was the one I had longest, 16 years.
I have noticed his cats change behavior when one dies.
Yeah, huh? Yep, I noticed that when my Miranda died. The other people in the apartment kind of changed. Um, I know Miranda, not Miranda. That's the one who died. My Winston was kind of lonely, but what are you gonna do? Yes, the kitty person along with us is Kitty. Hello, Kitty, my dear. How are
Hi there.
I
you?
don't know. Maybe I'm just strange, but when I heard Selena, I kept thinking Celine Dion.
No, Celine, like moon
Yeah,
goddess.
I
Yeah.
know, but my brain kept going to Celine Dion.
That's because you've got a Canadian brain.
Mm-hmm. There
As
you
long as it's
go.
not Quebec, I'm okay with it.
Considering my mom's family on her dad's side settled in Quebec before it was Quebec or Canada, like back in the Arcadia days, like I kind of agree though. Like I wouldn't necessarily want to live there.
Yeah, well, I
Oh,
was raised within screaming distance, so
I have not been to. Okay, let's try this again. I have not been to Quebec. I have been to Ontario, but oh well. What are you gonna do?
Ever been out of the country?
Everybody really, everybody here in the U.S. really needs to be out of the country a little bit at least because see how other people live. I mean,
Well,
if I had
luckily
the
we have
money,
the
I'd travel
internet
the
now.
world. But
So we can interact with people of different cultures and lived experiences much easier thanks to the interconnectedness and globalization of the internet.
okay,
well,
yeah,
and
I'll
had
give you
I the
that.
money, I'd travel the world, but I don't. Right? The closest I can do, and ironically, I'm doing it right now, is fuck around in Google Earth VR.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean, okay, to be fair, that means I can't read the chat because I got the old goggles on, but, I do enjoy messing around in a virtual world while I'm chatting with people. I mean, yes, you can talk about me behind my back if I'm not looking, but whatever, I don't care.
Okay. And that third voice you folks have heard, well, that fourth voice, really. I mean, there are four of us here. Is Miss?
Hey, you forgot the cat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's a
So,
very like my cats are. This one is the whiny meerkat, and he's also kind of a window licker. Like he's not the brightest bulb.
Oh, that's okay.
Once he went to
Xander
jump
licks
off.
it off from cabinets.
Once he went to jump off of a wheel chair that had wheels on it onto the couch, and he ended up knocking the chair out from under him and face planted into the side of the couch.
oh
He's not the
no.
brightest.
Tell me you
Oh
caught that on
no.
video.
No, I didn't. This happened at the old house. And then Luna is the other like whiny baby, but she's got this like raspy like Amy Winehouse meow. That like I don't know where she's at. She's around here somewhere. And then Leo is like a dog. He will like greet you at the door when you get home. They all follow you to the toilet because they're like, well, I mean, human, you're going to be here for a while. Might as well just pay attention to me while
Yeah,
you're
sure.
here.
Well, and I mean, like, Xander follows me into the toilet, but, like, Columbia just doesn't. She, on the other hand, does have this, like, she can meow like a normal cat if she wants to, but most of the time she meows like she's got laryngitis.
The calico I had.
And you can tell that she's doing it on purpose. You can tell she's doing it on purpose because the very end of the meow is a proper meow.
Ah.
The calico I had would run full steam headfirst directly into a wall.
Okay.
And she'd basically knock herself silly too. She'd fall back on her butt and just kind of sit there for a moment.
He jumped up here and now he's stuck. Come on. No, I'm not calling you back. I'm calling you down. Come on.
I have this video I shot a while back and I cannot find it. I don't know if I put it online or what, but one of my cats, like I had the door open, right? Because there's a screen and Columbia loves to look at outside when it's nice and warm and all that, right? So, like I look over and I see, it must have been her, but I keep picturing it as Xander. I see her walking across the top of the door. And I'm like, how the frick did you get up there? And then I realized that her kitty tree was on the other side of the door. And that's how she got up. But at the time, it looked like she had somehow levitated.
Oh, yeah, no, he is door cat. He will literally lay on the top of doors if you leave them open.
Yeah.
All
Columbia,
right.
like when I move into my new place, there's going to be windows that I can open, and I'm thinking about putting multiple kitty trees in there so that each cat can have their own, you know.
I wish
Anyway,
I
I
had a
think
space
we
for
were
that.
like still introducing Mage.
Yes, that other voice, that other human voice that you guys have been hearing is the one and the only Mage Grey Wolf. How you doing, honey?
I'm good.
Yay! This is always a good thing. Yeah,
Oh, I don't know. What if Mage goes rogue and starts like threatening to destroy the world with orbital nuclear fire? I think then that Mage being good would be a bad thing. So it's not always a good thing.
as long as he does it on Purple Stream and not this one.
Well, all right.
Yeah, we had the earlier afternoon over on Purple's stream, and we noticed how Wednesday seems to be kind of crowded, but that's okay. Yeah, no problem there.
Wasn't Purple's other show like a midnight thing?
Yeah, on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose maybe one of these days I should drop by again. I've been really like, it's weird saying I'm busy when I work from home and I'm my own boss, but I kind of have been.
Well, you can actually be busy without being in the office environment. Yeah, absolutely.
I know, but even then, a lot of the time when I do what I do, people might look at it and go, "You're not working, you're playing. Look at those pretty pictures." You know, and it's like seriously. There's times I feel like if I had to convince someone that I'm actually doing work, like literal labor, I would have a hard time. I'd have an uphill battle convincing them of that.
My days are quite often quite busy.
Okay. Well, much people I know do not necessarily consider work other than in, say, an office environment or a factory environment to be work.
I disagree with that.
Oh yeah,
One by
absolutely.
one, the penguins steal my sanity.
I mean, I have to admit, I do question our wisdom in paying, say, for example, professional athletes as much as we do. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to be paid that much to play a fucking game. Then again, there are video game tournaments, so maybe I shouldn't bitch. Like, people can make money playing video games and not just as YouTube streamers or whatever. You know,
Yeah, no, there
Twitch.
are professionals like League of Legends tournaments.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I shouldn't bitch about how some people make money, you know, like
Mm,
like because well then again I don't know I just prefer if people look at what I do as something valuable. That's all.
well, I would certainly consider your output to be valuable. Definitely. I mean, you did a good job on the YouTube streams that or the videos you used to do. You're certainly doing a darn good job with what I've seen of what you're doing now with Quinn.
And I've actually got a shot re-rendering right now. It was about 11 frames too short. So I have to and they were short at the beginning of the shot, so I had to redo not the whole thing. It was really easy to add those extra 11 seconds, but I still had to, or 11 seconds, 11 frames, but still I had to, yeah, so that's going. I also
That's
have an episode of Head Meets like recorded, is in all the audio's ready. All I have to do is animate it.
all
So
right. All right.
I do need to pay the bills. It's starting to get, down to the wire now. So I'm going to have to start doing some output that's not Quinn, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately. I don't like losing my focus. That's why it's unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah, understandable. Understandable. So that
Oh,
11 frames that's missing, that's what, about a third of a second?
Roughly, a little bit more.
Oh my, so how did you notice it was missing? Or how did you
Well,
notice it was short?
the timing was off. I was watching what I had in the editor, and I was like, okay, it just doesn't feel like there was enough time between like shot A and shot C, and like it didn't seem right. And what I realized was that shot B started too soon after shot A. But it wasn't that shot A was too long. It was just that the dialogue started too quickly. I needed that extra time for the character to basically like wind up and get ready to do what he was gonna do. Like there's
Well,
that moment. Like when you're about to walk, you don't just step. There's a certain amount of momentum you have to build up first, and the character hadn't done that, and it looked jarring in the editing, and so I had to add a little extra time.
God, it's amazing how people can notice that. You
oh,
know,
Yeah.
you don't
isn't it?
think it, you don't think the third of a second is all that much, but yes, I guess it is.
Oh, it's crazy important. You have no idea. Sometimes 3 whole frames make a world of difference to whether or not the flow is maintained.
This is interesting. Hasbro is doing a selfie series where they take your face and put it on an action figure.
For how much?
Looks like it's for about $60.
And when you say they take your face, do they 3D model it or is it just a decal?
Looks like it's a 3D model.
Wow. Because, I
That might
mean,
actually be worth it.
yeah, usually they want to charge you like hundreds. This is pretty cool.
I remember
Yeah.
the My Dolls that like they had when I was a kid, where they would basically do the doll to look like the child. So they would have photos of the child from like different angles of their face, and it was basically a mini version of the child. Um,
Okay, okay. Now I
There is
understand.
something I saw like that recently, and I actually contacted them about maybe making a plush toy out of Quinn from Quinn Redshift, and they actually said, "Yeah, we could probably do that for about $300." And I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? Maybe when I have a bunch of money to just throw around, I'll have the entire cast of Quinn Redshift made as dolls. But until I feel like I have disposable cash again, but at least I know it's possible. Like I sent them, photos, renderings of Quinn, showed them all the dimensions. They were like, "Yeah, we can make that happen for you."
All
Yeah, it's
right.
G.I.
Sounds
Joe,
wonderful.
Ghostbusters.
What's Quinn look like? I haven't
Rangers.
seen it.
I'll stop presenting
Oh
here.
well, okay, hold on. Let me
I'm
get
giving you the
something I can
chance to
show here.
shine, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There, an
absolutely.
Asian show.
Hey,
Shift,
Savage
shift,
Minnows
shift,
here.
shift
How you doing,
here,
honey?
and we'll go.
pull up the trailer.
All right. Oh well, if you want me to show the trailer, I can do that.
Yeah,
It shouldn't get anything taken down, right?
No, no,
sure,
no,
the
it won't.
content.
It's just I didn't want to take up too much of everyone's time. If you want to watch the trailer, I'm
Yeah, sure.
totally
Oh,
game to
by
show
all
it.
means, please.
All right.
Hope
And
you're doing better,
This is
Minnow.
us
Savage.
hanging out and having fun. Speaking of,
Yes,
I'm
dear.
thinking about doing a stream on Thursdays, like, late afternoon, early evening before Purple, just kind of a just hang out, chill, just to give me something to do, like a little semblance of like normalcy and like routine. So, if I do end up doing that, you guys are all invited. It would literally be just like this, but
Okay.
on my
Well, that
channel.
sounds great.
Yeah, these
Sounds
When?
chats,
assuring.
these
Yeah.
chats actually do help me with
When were you saying?
I'm
anxiety
thinking
and
Thursdays, like,
Okay.
sometime in the afternoon, probably starting around like, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern. That
Oh,
way that gives like, couple hours to hang out
Sure.
and relax and chill. And then Purple Stream, like I shouldn't be stepping on anyone's toes in that area. Because it's
Sure.
just meant to be like me connecting with people and talking to people. Because I have not been doing that. I have not spent enough time talking to adult humans
yeah,
of late.
yes.
yeah.
I have
Most
spent a lot of time recently in VR poker rooms, and it's supposed to be 18 and over only, but there's a lot of kids in there. And honestly, most of them, like the ones that can play the game without screwing around too much, are all right. But then there's the ones who turn the whole table into chaos, going all in pre flop, throwing the props around. It's just a giant pain. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
before I started doing these live stream things, which are helping with anxiety for me, the most of my conversation involved being asked if I wanted paper or plastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, I'm obviously eager to show my own shit. So here we
Oh,
go.
I'm excited.
absolutely. We're eager to see it. Really, we are. I don't mind seeing it again.
In a year 2000 that never was.
Wait, the audio went away. Why did it go away?
Don't know.
This mission to take a giant leap forward,
Here
Rhea,
we go.
I need your help.
leading an intrepid team of companions into danger.
The professor's new drive requires an alternate type of fuel. The ship carrying the device to Earth was attacked by space pirates and stolen. Our only option is to find those pirates and take it back.
Then we better get started. What's the local base?
If there is a pirate base, it might be hidden in the Rwandan asteroid.
Okay. You can count on me.
Wind redshift hailing asteroid base. Please respond.
I want my squadron to take on a band of space pirates.
Yes. And they're still somewhere near Mars.
Squadron of fighter ships off the Port Bow tends to travel lands attention.
We come in peace.
What if this favor you're doing destroys us?
Wind redshift. Coming soon.
Yay!
Very nice.
Yay! Like that is impressive. I could not do that.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, if you'd asked me, I would have said the same thing a while back. It's just a matter of plugging forward. You gotta love it enough to do it, though. I mean, it's not a project lightly taken, I assure you. But if you love what you do, eventually you'll make it happen.
It's like me with my
Oh, man.
sewing. I'm entirely self-taught, When I first started sewing, it was on a hand-me-down sewing machine I got from my dad. And I made a few costumes. I sewed a little bit here and there. And the pandemic hit. and I hadn't touched the sewing machine in ages, and I started sewing masks, and I ended up actually getting a new sewing machine at the beginning of the pandemic, and I sewed hundreds of masks and gave them away. And it really reignited. I was like, man, I forgot how much I really enjoy this, and I've just kept with it, and like I have way more skill at it now than I did in the beginning, for sure. Though
That's how
masks are simple enough.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
how I got
well.
into gardening too. I was just thinking, okay, we see the supply chain hasn't really gone down yet, but we're still seeing massive shortages. I need to prepare for something going on. So I started researching how foraging for the wild plants and weeds so I could eat. And
Okay.
I found this one plant growing in a pot off to the side of my house. I don't even know how it got there. It was a cherry tomato plant. And that's what got me started gardening. I harvested some of the seeds from that, and I planted and regrew them.
Okay then.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah,
purple
actually,
is
well, like
here.
when I
Hello,
was
dear.
when I was like shut in with the pandemic and all that. I mean, the first bit of Quinn Redshift, there's a lot of sitting and talking. I mean, you're introduced to some of the new characters and all that stuff. Um, but then I was like, the next scene was also supposed to be a lot of sitting and talking, this time in spaceships. But instead, I said, let's not bore the audience. And instead, it's the characters who are going to be in those spaceships doing a pre-flight check while they're talking, right? And so I've been trying to keep that sort of thing fresh. And the first couple of bits, the first scene there was such a slog because it was so much lip sync. When I was doing the thing with the pre-flight checks, all of a sudden I started to feel like I was really growing as an animator because I was making these characters do more than just sort of sit and gesture and all of that. And then by the time one of the other characters is introduced, who's like sort of a really grandiose, kind of bombastic sort of fella, like that was when I really started to feel like I was coming into my own. And ever since then, I've just been like constantly impressing myself. Like I'm genuinely noticing my own improvement.
I'm liking it.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
fucking proud of you. Like,
Hmm.
that takes dedication and talent and skill and hard work, and I'm proud of you. Like,
Oh,
it
thank you.
shows. Like, I mean, it's like Ruby meets. It seems like Ruby meets like Galaxy Quest.
Ruby?
Ruby is it's a show on. It was on like Rooster Teeth.
Wait, are you talking
And
about that anime?
yeah, it's RWBY, red,
Yeah.
white, blue, yellow.
I know that one.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't
And
know it.
yeah, so it's really good. Like the characters are great. Like I love the characters a lot.
Well, I mean, I don't know. What was it? RWBY, was it?
Yes, RWBY.
And it's no longer on Amazon, unfortunately.
It was on oh god, what is that fucking thing? Not Funimation. I know it was on VRB, but then they got bought out
Crunchyroll?
by Crunchyroll. I think it's on Crunchyroll. I think, but I'm not 100% on that.
I mean, I guess I sort of see what you're saying. It's not quite the look I was going for. I was actually going for sort of a Star Wars meets the Jetsons kind of thing.
No, I mean, I can see that too. I was
Yeah.
just saying, like, the first impression was like, but then again, everybody knows that Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek film.
Okay,
So that's
as
why
long
I
as
said
you, as
Galaxy
long as
Quest.
you say film, yes, I agree. But the best Star Trek TV show is The Orville.
Yes, I will agree with that. Like,
Okay.
honestly, like as far as like like the spirit of like the original series, it's very well carried on in the Orville. Though my personal favorite of them, I'm a Picard stan. Like Next Gen is my favorite. But the Orville is fucking phenomenal, and it is to Star Trek series what Galaxy Quest is to Star Trek films.
And
Right, does
I mean, I was binge watching TNG during the pandemic, and it struck me as odd how infrequently they would actually go to a strange new world. So much of it is character drama and the holodeck breaking again. And so like that's probably why I prefer Voyager is I mean partly because I like a lot of the characters better. Tom Paris is by far my favorite Star Trek character, but I think a lot of it was just that they had no choice but to go to a strange new world. You
I've heard
know,
I've
they
heard
were
some
nowhere near Federation space. They couldn't help it.
I've heard some people refer to the Orville as Star Trek without the stick up its ass.
That's how I've always said it, actually. I like seriously for the longest time. That's how I've been describing it. Is as what you know. This is what Star Trek would be if it didn't have that giant stick up its butt. I've been saying that for ages. I wonder if they got it from me.
No, it definitely wasn't from you.
Well, Seth MacFarlane being a Star Trek fan and very much wanting to take the piss out of everybody that has a stick up their ass, you know,
Well,
that's
but
why.
that exact phrasing, though. I mean, exactly that phrasing. I've been saying that for like ages now. So I don't know. Maybe it's convergent evolution. Maybe someone heard me say it and it just spread from there. I don't know. But I know I've been saying that for ages without prompting.
Fair.
Pretty sure it's convergent.
I am making a coin purse in case anybody is curious. It will be a butterfly coin purse.
Oh,
So
wow.
right now I have to work
Yeah.
on the applique.
I know you said coin purse, but the first time I heard corn purse and had many questions.
Oh, I heard corn purse as well.
Okay,
So
coin.
Yes, I know, but still. So sometimes, and I know I've mentioned this before, my favorite like misheard words become like alien names or like bits of alien language or whatever, you know. And corn purse is just a great like I can't use it for an alien word, but it's just a great misheard thing, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Like for me, it's when I see interesting street names, I might incorporate them into characters in like a D&D game that I'm in.
Hmm.
all right, all right.
I might like modify it slightly. But you know, I think there was a street name called Valen, Valen, and I gave that as the name to my evil brother who betrayed his family and slaughtered. Like we're like the only two left, or at least I don't know if he's alive or not. But I was the only one that survived because I just happened to not be there when he summoned demons that slaughtered my entire tribe of elves. So Valen, it kind of had villainy vibes and also a pretentiousness to it. And I was like, yeah, that'll be
Well,
my
it's funny
character's
'cause
brother's name.
Valen is like one of the heroes of Babylon 5.
I know.
Like-
I watched Babylon 5, but like this was before I had watched it. I watched Babylon 5 during the pandemic.
Oh my! I didn't watch much
Well-
of anything. Well, I haven't had a television in a very long time, so.
Well, nowadays you don't really need one.
Thing is, I'm running out of stuff to binge at this point. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should like get more streaming services, but the ones I have, it seems like I've either watched everything I want to see, or everything I do want to see is made to look like something I don't want to see, and the only way to discover I want to see it is to get like quite a bit past the thumbnail and title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I've
know,
been-
it's just, it seems really hard to browse and find something I actually want by browsing.
Yeah, I've been burning through a lot of anime myself.
I just binge watched Castlevania and I'm watching Being Human, the American version right now. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I played through all the Witcher games. And like Witcher 3, I got like 120 hours invested in my playthrough. And then I watched Naruto and Shippuden, all of it.
I got into a lot of the
Okay.
isekai animes.
know, I think I have Naruto on disc. I think someone sent it to me once, and then I got really deep into a project and couldn't watch it because it was like subtitles only or something. And I'm like, well, I can't have this on while I'm working. You know, so like I should
Yeah.
put it off the shelf at some. This is the one dude's wearing like a orange suit with
Yes.
blue trim, yellow hair, and he looks like
And
he's
he's
throwing
got the
something constantly.
stripes on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Naruto.
Okay. Yeah, I have that. I just need to get around to watching it.
I actually tend to watch like anime dubbed. Not, I'm not a purist. First
Mm.
off, I just enjoy anime for story, but I watch it dubbed because I'll have my monitor set up and, I'll be watching it while I'm working. So I can listen to it and I can watch it, or I'll have it on my phone and I'll have a stand, put my phone right here so that while I'm sewing, I can be watching, and that's my favorite way to consume content because when I'm sitting here, if I don't have something on, I find it harder to actually work. Like
Oh,
I
right,
need
right
that
there with you,
stimuli.
right there with you. But like I said, like something I had was subtitles only, and that's just not usable while I'm, and
Yeah.
you have to
I took
understand
Japanese in high school. My Japanese is not good enough.
Yeah, I have
my
trouble.
intro into anime was actually back in the day where if you wanted anything other than Voltron reruns, you had to get it fan subbed. And I mean, these were things where someone seriously found it, translated it, subtitled it themselves, and then ran off a bunch of VHS copies to their friends, who then copied it for their friends. That was the only way to get some of the stuff that like wasn't, in reruns like that, like I say, like
Or
Voltron
go
or
to a
whatever.
convention
Yeah,
Right. And so
and get the box set.
so the but the dubs that were out there, and there were things that were dubbed, were so poorly dubbed. Like the translated script might as well have gone through Google Translate, and the actors were completely wooden. It was like they got Kenny the copy boy out of the copy room to voice a character because that's all they could get. It's just so bad. Right. So maybe they've gotten better with dubbing these days, but I'm still like, I look at anime and I go, this has to be watched subtitled because dubbed it's going to sound well like I did it. It's
Okay.
just
yeah.
Now,
yeah,
I will die on this hill.
yeah.
Helsing is better dubbed than subbed because
Interesting.
having Integra with a British accent, having the British accents, knowing this is taking place in Great Britain, like I will die on this hill. Helsing,
Yeah,
the original, is better dubbed.
I find Piccolo
Okay.
to be a better dub than in sub because he has like a really squeaky voice in the subtitle version.
I'm friends with his voice actor.
Really, that's interesting. But
Sunny
I've,
Straight.
but
Uh,
I find I've I have trouble with subtitle stuff because I can't follow the subtitles and the action going on the screen at the same time very well. So I'm either missing something of the action or missing something of of what's being said.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have the worst time with subtitles too because I tend to read faster than actors speak. And so it's just a constant game of, okay, I read, now catch up to me. Okay, now I read, now catch up to me.
I wish I
It's,
had that problem.
yeah.
I
For
wish I had
me,
that problem.
I watch everything with subtitles, even if it's in English, because I like to not miss anything. So, like, if I'm sitting down, like, watching something, sometimes the subtitles will give you more than what you might be able to, like, auditorily hear. So, that's just me. And then if I look away, if it's in English, then I can still enjoy it, even if I'm only half looking at it?
See, now I kind of, and I mean, I get the impulse you're talking about. For me, I find that subtitles like break up my immersion so badly that I'd rather have them off and miss something and then decide, you know what, I'm going to go back and look at it with subtitles on later.
Yeah, same here.
It's just not worth it to have the subtitles on just in case I miss something. I'd rather have the subtitles off and not be thinking about it until and unless I miss something.
That's fair.
Easy.
Yeah, I sometimes
Yeah.
like to. Also, there can be differences between the subtitles and the dubbing. So I
Oh,
sometimes like to
Oh,
go
yeah.
back and watch the subtitle stuff to see what the difference is.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why on a film that's done in German, I'll just get the subtitles the hell out of there, and it helps me to try to keep up on the German as well. But Das Boot, for
And some
example, is heavily much difference between the subtitles and the the lines that are done on the soundstage.
and some
Well,
people. Well,
I love telling the story, and you've heard me say it before about how I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077, and like the Hispanic characters, the gang members that are trying to kill you are shouting things at you. And I'm sorry, but "come get some" never ends with "tu madre."
and sometimes
You're not wrong.
and sometimes the subtitles don't even give you an accurate portrayal of what's actually being said in the original language as well.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes words that don't translate very well, or concepts that don't translate very well.
Like
Or they,
Schadenfreude. Like
yeah,
a
there you go.
perfect example. We do not have a word for that in English. We can
Right.
describe
Well,
it.
actually, no. We have 2 words for it, and they are neener, neener.
Yeah, petoye karasada patana.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, I mean, am I wrong?
I forgot hanging out with Kate. Like it just
Uh-huh.
fucking
See?
hell.
See,
Fuck
see?
me.
I don't know. Is that good or bad? I
It's
can't
good
tell.
Yes.
because I
Okay.
enjoy it. Like
Okay.
I might say fuck you, Kate, just like if you do a pun or something and I just like get pouty because I can be a bit of a brat. But no, I enjoy it. Like I enjoy human interaction and you're weird and I like and respect that because I
Okay.
don't trust normal people. No, and here's the reason.
Yeah.
It is always that he seems so normal going to the neighborhood barbecues and you find out he's got 4 men chained in his basement as sex slaves for 20 years. No, no, no. I want to see your weird up front to see if it plays well with my weird because I'm fucking weird as hell. So I want to surround myself with the weirdos and let our freak flags fly because I do not trust normal people. They are hiding something.
Well, it's not for people, but
Well, I mean, the
And
thing
that's
is
a true
that, like,
story. Ariel
like
Castro.
the
It was like in Michigan or something. He had
sometimes
4 women.
though, like the normal people, what they're hiding actually though is that they're just really boring.
That too.
I mean, yeah, granted, some of them are hiding the fact that they're complete psychopaths, but a lot of them are just like they're showing you exactly what they are. You just think there ought to be more.
They're just like milk-soaked toast.
Hell,
There you go.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I don't mind chatting with chatty strangers if you're in line for something. Like I'm at the butcher counter, the deli counter, whatever, to get some cold cuts, and this lady starts talking to me about, how long the guy's taken to cut her meat and all that. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll talk to a perfect stranger, but that was all she had to say.
Well, it's better than what I deal with. Being a disabled person who walks with a cane out in public, I get Christians coming up proselytizing to me that all my pain and disability will heal with the healing power of Jesus if only I believe. So
Okay,
I'd
you
rather
win.
boring than that.
No, you win.
It happens to me all the fucking time.
and just smack him in the leg and say, "Yeah, pray it away."
Oh, it's interesting you mentioned that because I've already had one of the Uber drivers offer to lay hands on me to heal my kidneys, and
Fuck
it's
off.
right to his face. What would you say? Would you allow me to lay the hands on his? I wouldn't believe you. Okay, boy, you should have seen his face fall, hit the pavement. But I would not believe him at all. I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen.
Well, it's like pretty presumptuous too. I mean, can I touch you, complete stranger?
Yeah, right,
That's. I mean, it is a little weird. I remember when I got into a lift and the dude driving it was listening to the God's Not Dead soundtrack.
Oh
Ugh,
boy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like
Of
all
the
the
sad part is
things, like at
actually
least
what,
listen
like, I
to
was
good
listening to it and I was going,
Christian
"Who
music.
is this?" And I looked and I was like, "That's a shame because it's actually not that bad. Like musically, it wasn't that bad, but I felt icky listening to it."
Yeah, okay.
There's way better Christian music to listen to than that soundtrack. I mean, if you're gonna listen to it, at least listen to something that's not terrible.
Hmm.
It's
I like
just,
Christian rock better than anything, like or Christian metal. At least I can just pretend it's not like, Jesus-y and just enjoy the beat.
I just somehow can't wrap my head around Christian metal.
Oh, it
Um,
exists.
It does. And actually, there was a church that I used to go to in high school. Every Friday night, they would have the well where they would have adult supervision and they'd open up the rec room. And they had the kitchen open so you can get like a burger or a hot dog or nachos, like for cheap, kids' pocket money. You're talking like $5 or less for a full meal of junk food, but still a meal. and they'd have music playing. They had pool tables, dartboards, video games, and there was no proselytizing at all. It was literally just a safe place that had adult supervision for teenagers to hang out on a Friday night. And I really respected that idea. And I actually volunteered. Nobody's murdering you, guinea pigs.
Striper is Christian metal.
But and like I really liked that idea because I was like, they're not pushing religion, they're not handing out pamphlets or anything. It's no strings attached. Just come, be safe, have a good time, and go, at the end of the night. And like, I don't know, I like that. So I volunteered and I actually helped work at that place during the well.
Well, thinking about it, a strange number of my stories begin with, well, I had some well-meaning but ultimately misguided friends who, and in this case, it's my ex Kylie. For like, I forget if it was my birthday or Giftmas or whatever. She knows I like the Bangles and the Go-Go's, Belinda Carlisle, all that from the 80s, right? And she knows I especially like Vacation. And so she found like this album that was like a ska band from the 90s, and they had a cover of Vacation on the album, but she didn't look at all of the other songs. And they're apparently this like uber straight edge Christian group. The song titles were like I'm Glad We Waited and things like that. And I'm just like, thanks, hun. I'm glad for that one track. Thanks. And I mean, I know she didn't do it on purpose. She's a frickin' Wiccan. Wow, that would actually work as a good title, frickin' Wiccan. But anyway, that wasn't on purpose, I promise you. But yeah, she didn't do that on purpose. It just, like I said, well-meaning but ultimately misguided.
I was Wiccan for many, many years. In fact, I still technically consider myself Wiccan. I just consider myself a non-theistic one. So like I'm an atheist, but I do like the tenets of Wicca, do what you will, harm none, respect nature and all that, Plus I enjoy celebrating the holidays. Samhain is my favorite holiday. Always has been, always will be. Halloween, to anyone who doesn't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. It's gotten to the point now, honestly, where when Halloween starts to roll around, I'm like, I have so many goth friends. Roll in all the pagan memes about freaking origins of Halloween again. It's just like, I think everyone gets it now, where it came from. It's not new information. And I don't know if you think you're tweaking people, but honestly, it's the same memes every year over and over and over. Please at least get new ones.
Yeah, me being into Wicca for a while actually played a role in choosing the name I have. I was into Wicca. I was trying to figure out a name for this chat room I wanted to go into, and I had this Final Fantasy book sitting right next to me. Like, oh, mage. So I came up with that part. Then the next part, the Grey Wolf part, actually came from a friend of mine giving it to me after my girlfriend died in high school. Well, I wanted to drop the mage title for a while, and he said, oh, how about Grey Wolf? It actually came from the Conan the Adventurer, their cartoon series, is Grey Wolf, because he thought that was a tragic character, and it seemed to fit the whole wizard and everything. And eventually I just kind of merged the two.
Well, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one here whose username has its origins in a cartoon show.
I had an email that was Shadowcat for a very long time because Kitty Pryde was fucking dope.
Oh, and the reason why I spell it Old Gray in my name with a A is because that's how it was spelled on the crayon I was looking at.
As it should be. That's the proper spelling of that word, and I will absolutely die on that hill.
I don't know. I kind of like it with an E.
It just looks like pretentious to me. Looks like people are going, hey, look, everyone, it looks British. To
be fair, I use the British keyboard and the British spelling for things. So that's probably why.
I hate that extra U everyone sticks in everything. It just looks so horribly useless.
I don't know. I just prefer it. But then again, like I said, ever since high school, I've used the British keyboard like on my phone or in my spellings, so
Well-
very rarely will you see me spell something the American way.
Okay, I have to admit, like, it seemed like everything I enjoyed pop culture wise and just like general culture wise, like, happened when I was like still preteen and early teen. You know, it's like I loved the colorfulness of the 80s and the upbeat of the pop culture. And then everything got drab and dark and grim, and it just kept getting darker and drabber and grimmer. And it just seemed like, I don't know. We're never going to get back to the stuff I like ever again. But all of my goth and emo friends are just having the time of their fucking lives. It's very annoying, you know, especially because like I'm in these lesbian groups, and you'll get these memes that will say things like, "All a girl really wants is to live in a castle with you know whatever familiar and casting spells." I'm like, dude, am I the only lesbian out there who wants to have a laser gun and a spaceship? The only one. You know, and it's not just the lesbian groups, it's all of my friends. It just feels like everyone wants the world to be rustic and old instead of high tech and fun. You know, it's like at this point, I'll take Star Trek over Star Wars. Just stop trying to sell me on steampunk, please.
Okay.
It's just so frustrating. The world keeps running away from my preferences as hard as it fucking can, and it's getting old.
Yep.
Getting old. No, that's me.
Yeah,
There seems
yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah,
a degradation in good storytelling in shows these days as well.
Well, that's just because of the corporatization of storytelling.
Okay. Okay.
Well, no, seriously, like,
Mhm.
you know that Film Courage channel I keep talking about? I mean, they talk about what it takes to get a movie made in Hollywood these days, what it takes to get a script approved. And, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, it could be your dream script, the thing you've been writing forever. They're still going to bring in people to edit it for you. They're going to change everything. I mean, there are movies that started out as serious dramas that became screwball comedies by the time the studio was done with it. It sounds like a soul crushing thing to do, you know, to get into like Hollywood like that. And you know, like I can only imagine how many people's dreams were narrowed down to bullshit.
It's kind of what happened with the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's exactly what yeah, exactly. Good example. Yeah, because Joss Whedon originally wanted that movie to be what the TV show ended up being, but the studio said, no, 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 this is going to be goofy. It's what happened with the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Like Richard Donner started making a real movie, and then like some producer came in and said, no, no, the superheroes are for kids. Make it silly, make it funny.
Okay then.
I mean, and that's not just the only way it happens. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Men in Black with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, but the guy who produced it desperately wanted at the end of it for there to be a gigantic spider that Will Smith has to fight. And like someone shouted him down. Someone said, no, it's not going to work for the script. So then he went on to make Wild Wild West again with Will Smith. This time, what was it, Kenneth Branagh and why am I blanking, dude who played Otto on Fish Called Wanda. But whatever, point being that he finally got his spider in that movie. At the end of the
Huh.
movie, this was a giant steampunk spider. Same producer. He'd been pushing for a spider in like a giant spider in a Hollywood movie for ages. Boy,
Kind
oh
of
boy, did that guy want it. And that's the kind of hell that you can go through as someone who wants to just make a fun, good movies. You get these suits who have done focus groups left and right, pissing in your artwork. And it just sounds frustrating as fuck. And I'd rather spend 5 years making a decent 20-minute animated flick, hint, hint, quid redshift, than, you know, have millions of dollars thrown at me to make a movie Hollywood style. It just does not sound worth it.
kind of a shame that Wild Wild West kind of bombed.
Well,
I actually enjoyed that movie. Like, am I weird? Like, I
It
don't
had good
know.
moments.
I watched it as a kid in a movie theater, so like,
I don't know how old I was when I watched it, but I know when I was done watching it, I felt like my time had not been completely wasted, but I could have done without the experience.
Okay.
Well, I mean, hell, for me, when it's a movie where I'm not super enthusiastic about it, what I just said is high praise. On the other hand, there are some movies that I hate with the white hot fury of 1,000 suns, just down to like the core of my very bones, loathe those fucking movies. So, the experience wasn't completely a waste of my time, is actually doing pretty well.
Alrighty then. Yeah.
Just saying.
It works.
I mean, don't even get me started on. Actually, if I save the titles to get me started on them, so don't even get me started. I'm just saying.
Oh my.
I mean, at least there are some movies out there that are so bad they're good. You know,
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
like
I
Earth Girls Are
definitely.
Easy is so bad that it's good.
It's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, but I actually kind of liked the Lost in Space movie. I know it's a terrible movie,
Hmm.
but I still liked it.
I haven't seen it. Is it as bad as the television series was?
You mean the? Oh well, define bad.
Uh, let's see. Cheesy sets.
Well, no. The effects were very modernized. This was made in like what, the late '90s or something.
Yeah, I think it was in the late 90s.
So I
Excuse
mean,
me.
the effects are fine. It's just the plot was kind of cookie cutter, and the
Yeah.
characters were pretty lackluster. You know, it was a Hollywood popcorn movie that was made to get butts on seats, but never make any kind of dent in movie history.
Yeah,
Yeah. There you
you had
go.
Penny with her helium addiction.
I don't remember that part.
Oh no, it's because the actress who played Penny. He had this really squeaky voice,
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
made it
No,
sound like
the
he was on helium.
no, the cheesy sets. I was thinking the television series, but
yeah, no, no. The sets for the movie were very yeah. They made Star Wars look primitive. Let's put it that way.
okay then.
But no, the real problem, if it had a problem, was the writing. The writing was just very meh.
Yeah. Huh. And what
So,
amazes me is when Roddenberry was going around looking for a place to sell his show, he did approach CBS, and they said, "No thanks, we already have one."
hmm.
And the already have one was fucking Lost in Space.
Are you sure that was CBS? Because they are the ones who picked up Star Trek.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought it was NBC that picked up Star Trek for some reason. So maybe it was
No.
the
CBS,
other way around. Maybe it was the other way around.
CBS
Yeah.
and Paramount got the movie rights, and then the whole thing got split up between CBS and Paramount. Now I guess they're merging back together, and who knows?
Okay, okay.
It's so hard to keep track of who owns who now.
Well, this is one of the things that really pisses me off, that business has become not producing anything or supplying anything, but buying other businesses. I mean, that's it. That seems to be where all the money is changing hands, and it's
Well, but those businesses have to be doing something to be worth purchasing.
it's something. I don't know. But it seems like so much is occurring that it's collapsing the market. And you only three
Well, the real
concerns own, or three own everything.
well, the real problem is lack of competition.
Well, that was the biggest problem with the whole baby food thing. There's only like what, two, three people making baby food for the whole country.
Right. And Abbott was cutting corners and they didn't want to throw out a batch of formula that, had come back as tainted and babies died.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's weird. That people think. Well, I guess they know they can get away with it, but it's just weird that there isn't that moment of, I really shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they have a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders to increase profits constantly and dividends. So that's why they do stock buybacks to artificially inflate the size of or the value of their stock
But I
and
just mean on an individual level,
Cutting
like
corners.
the person in the office looking at this going, should I really even be doing this?
Oh,
Like they never have that twinge of conscience. They never have that moment of, oh, I should tell someone.
Well,
Oh, I
actually,
al-
there was a whistleblower. That's how they found out about the tainted formula. There was a whistleblower from Abbott that was why they ended up doing the recall and shutting down the Sturgis plant.
I also
Well,
heard.
okay,
someone
it
did
still
speak
seems
out.
strange to me though that like even the person just giving the order in the first place never had that moment of, if I get caught doing this,
No, these
even
companies.
even if it wasn't I shouldn't be doing this, just even the notion of I might get caught.
It's happened in the automotive industry as well. They do a cost benefit analysis of how much will we have to pay out in settlements for the car failing and people dying, and how much will it cost to recall the car.
Probably
And
looking
Clearly
whatever
we're
is
not
for eBay.
lower,
spanking these
that's
people
what they go
enough.
with. They
Clearly we're
always
not
go by the
spanking these
numbers.
people enough. That's what it is. That we got to find some way to
In
make
China,
them
the
hurt
people at
where it
Abbott would have been put
sticks.
to death.
Oh, I also
Sorry,
heard
say that
the.
again.
If what happened at Abbott, like babies dying from tainted formula because of corner cutting, if it had happened in China, the executives would have been put to death.
Yeah, I also heard how they apparently they're destroying COVID tests to keep the prices from
Yes.
going down.
When we had a shortage of tests a while back, it's because when things started to slow down, they had a surplus of tests. They had employees destroy over 8 million perfectly good tests because they didn't want the supply to be too high, which would drive down costs, because supply and demand economics, more supply, lower demand, lower the cost. So they destroyed them, and then we couldn't get tests for a long time because it takes time to make them, and there were perfectly good ones that just got destroyed, and that was what was done by the company.
That's
Fucking
criminal.
Ron
Well, wait a
DeSantis
sec. Wait a sec.
destroyed
Wait a sec.
tests
Wait a sec.
too.
Wait a sec. I want to know about the logic behind this one. I mean, is there some reason they couldn't just sit on the tests until they decided to sell them? I mean, did they have to be destroyed? Is there some law that says if you have them, you have to put them out there?
I think because of the Defense Production Act, they had to.
Okay, so yes, there is a law.
Because we were under like wartime rules. I mean, we were at war with COVID in a way.
Sure,
Like, it's the best
sure.
way to like
I
think.
just wanted to make sure because I saw a possible loophole in there somewhere, and I wanted to know how it was patched, if it was at all. And it sounds like it was. I have my answer, so thank you.
Salud.
But yeah, I don't know. Back to something we were saying before is that I wish I had the startup capital for some of the places where I see an empty spot in the market, where it's like if I mean, hell, you sew. If I had any sewing skill whatsoever, I would start up a company of jeans for women with fucking pockets in them.
Fuck yeah. But there's actually a guy on TikTok doing it. Although
Yeah.
he changed it from jeans for women to just jeans for people, where they are designed, instead of being an off-the-shelf thing, they basically have he plans on having patterns for multiple different things. So you basically take your own measurements, and so if you're like more pear-shaped, you can get jeans that will fit you just right, and they have pockets and they have strong reinforced seams. Sounds amazing.
And there's another thing that riskier, I think. I mean, I would love to see that sort of thing, not as a pattern, but in stores, because let's face it, I don't have sewing ability. But another similar idea where I see a hole in the market, but much riskier, is practical cars that nevertheless have the aesthetics of sports cars. It's like drive a Toyota Tercel that
Yes.
looks like a Lamborghini.
Yes.
Because why not? Is there any reason why a practical car has to look like a mom car?
I mean, Tesla's like sportier looking models don't look too bad.
Yeah, but those are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Give it a more
That's
futuristic
true.
look.
When I say practical car, I mean, I reference the Toyota Tercel for a reason. I'm talking like, mom and dad buy this car and there's room in the back seat for Junior and the dog, but it still looks like a freaking Ferrari, I mean, why not? Is there any reason that can't be done? Like, and I don't mean why people don't want to. I mean why it's impossible.
It can be done. The reason it's not done is because of profit motive. Like it all comes down to late stage capitalism and how it is soul-suckingly amoral. It does not care about the well-being of people. It cares only about engorging itself like a tick and grinding us all up as grease to fucking grease the wheels of their mechanisms of profit.
Well,
See,
I've
that's
tried
why
to
people
get-
like me need money, because I don't think of money as power. I think of it as opportunity. And like, I would love to have the opportunity to say, hey, everybody out there in the public, here's stuff I think I want. Would you want it too? Because if you do, I'd freaking make it for you. You know,
I-
and I love the idea of if I was a bajillionaire trying to fix freaking Flint, Michigan's water for them just out of the goodness of my heart, you know, but of course, this is all fantasy. I'll never
Because
have
you're a
that kind of
dirty commie socialist like me. Like the older I get, like they say you get more conservative as you age. Fuck that. I get to be more fucking like socialist as like just burn it all down. Like post-capitalist, just fuck money. Like
I've tried
Well,
to get the whole thing.
it's weird. I've become like a philanthropic misanthrope. It's like I hate all you fuckers, but I want to save you from yourselves anyway.
yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
I've
how the
tried-
AI is going to end up being when it becomes our overlord and takes over.
I've tried to get it through to a libertarian about that about capitalism. He tries to say, "Oh no, that's not capitalism. That's corporatism." I'm like, okay, how do you stop capitalism from becoming what you're calling corporatism?
The only way is to make sure everyone has a conscience, and you kind of can't do that ethically. Like, because you can't force them to without, I don't know, brain chips or
Well, you
something.
could
And
rule of law it by having regulations in place, that stringent regulations that are followed and that are properly punished. Like the fuckers that crashed the stock market and caused the housing collapse, where they were giving mortgages to people who couldn't afford them and then betting on those same, selling them as AAA because they bought out the rating companies, and then betting on those same things to fail. So they're making extra money on top of it, and they fucked all of us over in 2008. All of them should be in jail.
And here we're
Instead, they
doing it
got fucking
again.
golden parachutes, and they're doing it again right now.
And that's what I mean. The guys were saying, "Oh, we don't about saying we basically don't want any regulation on this stuff. If he just wants the free market to take care of it."
And
See,
that's
in
where
the
you
way-
get babies
And that's how we
dying
get.
from
That's how we
formula.
get what we have.
Well, in the back of my head, I have this wild fantasy of like taking over the entire country like a supervillain, and then forcing everyone to live under this like system that takes care of you and makes your life better, you know, and keeping it in place for a generation or two, and then abdicating and say, "All right, you fuckers, now you know how it's supposed to go. Do it your way. Do it democratically now." You know, like being the most benevolent dictator there ever was by showing people how good it can be and then giving them the opportunity to choose to do it that way now. You know? I mean, it's a pure fantasy, but it might be fun to write it as a story.
Oh, absolutely.
In
I
fact,
heard
you know, come to think of it, I think it's been done many times, except instead of a like a person, like a human, it's usually extraterrestrials or something. You know, they go, "Okay, humanity, you've lived under our thumb for this amount of time, but while we were doing it, we were teaching you how to be, you know." And yeah, I think it's been done as sci-fi before. Just saying.
Yeah.
And darn it, I swear there was oh yeah, there was something else, because you were talking before about The Witcher. I did not enjoy that series. I'm told the games are better. But I got the idea the other day. I want to play like a D&D character who is like a magic user. You know, as maybe sorcerer or something, you know, thaumaturge. Probably not the more like Sylvan, whatever, Fey type magics, you know, so something a little more traditional wizard up in a tower type of stuff, but who also describes herself as a bard. Even though she's not bard class, she plays a little. Doesn't get any benefit out of it. She just fucking plays the instrument, you know?
Okay,
But
then.
like not bard class where they can cast spells with their music and stuff. It's a hobby. You know, it's like a character quirk you don't see that often. It's like, you know, yeah, bard mage. No, you're just a mage with a loot hobby. That kind of thing.
That's funny. One of my favorite character classes to play is actually in the Pathfinder system. It's an oracle. They're a spontaneous caster like a sorceress. So it's like they have their spells known that they can draw from, and X many a day. They don't have to prepare their spells like a cleric or a wizard does, but they draw off the divine list. So they are basically like a cleric, spontaneous casting cleric.
Jedi or Sith, basically.
And it's my favorite class to play. And with oracles, there's always like a catch. So like they have something about them that makes them different. Like I chose for my thing to be haunted. So it's like when, I'm around, sometimes there'll be like a strange like breeze or like a little like weird haunty sound. But if I drop an object, it will move like, 6 feet away or whatever in a random direction, and then I have to go get it. But taking those negatives gives me like the ability to levitate and then fly later on, and like there's a list of boons that you get for taking those character negatives, which I thought was really cool.
Interesting.
I actually, it's weird. I have a Pathfinder like player's handbook or whatever. I don't remember buying it. I don't know where the hell it came from. Did I win it in a contest? Did a friend send it to me off my wish? I never put it on my wish list. It must have been something that someone sent unasked. I don't know, but I have it. I've never used it. Maybe I need to get into tabletop gaming again. It's been way the frick too long.
If you play a Pathfinder game, play an oracle. Go through and read them. Like they're really cool. You can either like lean more towards the healing aspect, where you do get like healing spells and that, or you can at a high enough level call down meteors and holy fire to smite your enemies. So it is literally like all of my favorite things rolled into one, and it's great.
I don't know. I think if I played a character like that and I had the ability to call down, like, holy fire or something, I'd probably come up with silly nicknames for it that I would never be able to unthink. Like I don't know.
Ooh, and the deity that I personally chose out of the Pantheon and Pathfinder is Desna. Her symbol is a butterfly. It's not this exact butterfly, but it's got like a moon and stars in it. And she is the goddess of luck and travel and like the night sky. And like there's a lot of lore in Pathfinder about the different deities, and Desna's always been my favorite.
I guarantee you I could never follow that one, because the whole time I'd be thinking, well, she does not do this, she does not do that. Let's face it, she does not do anything. I couldn't.
You'd get it out of your system eventually, Kate. Come on.
You don't know me. I've recently understood now, because I've been diagnosed with the whole neurodivergence autism thing, and I'm now understanding why some things never leave my head without like something else replacing them. Very, very, very like my brain goes from earworm to earworm, and not just songs. Sometimes it's ideas or like events or whatever replaying themselves in my head constantly. And I know that if I was following a deity called Desna, that would never not go through my head. Because I've been living in San Diego for 6-7 years now, and every time someone abbreviates it as SD, my brain goes, "No, that means Star Destroyer, you rat bastard." It's like, because the sci-fi part of my brain insists SD means Star Destroyer. SF is not San Francisco, you bastards. It's science fiction. What's wrong with you? So like I could not play a character who follows Desna and not be thinking that constantly.
All right, Kate, I need to go. Like, they thought that I might have ADHD when I was a kid, but my parents are like, no, not my child. My child's not different,
Right.
But like I do want to talk to somebody, because like I have a lot of the symptoms. But please don't tell me I lost my oh yes. When they changed the Sci-Fi Channel from SCI-FI to SY-FY, did it fucking piss you off?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fucking bonkers.
That's actually another language meaning syphilis.
Well,
Makes
and
sense.
I mean, I guess part of it also, though, is that I have had so many knockdown, drag out fights with people over the definition of science fiction versus, say, fantasy. And so then when they decided, like, to change it to SYFY, I'm like, are you doing that just to not incur the wrath of the hard science fiction purists out there when you start showing stuff that is so not what they'd consider sci-fi? Or was this just like rebranding for the sake of it? What inspired this bullshit?
I mean, part of it might have been because, you know, then you could have the SY for the science fiction and then the FY for like a fantasy thing. Because, like, it wasn't long after that that they came out with Earthsea on there, right? I think.
I don't know.
Maybe. Also,
Uh,
it may have been that they can copyright it better.
That's
well,
also likely.
here's a question for you. Did you ever watch the show Monk?
I
Oh, I know
watched a
that
little
show.
of it.
Okay, now are you like me? Did you fucking hate when they changed the theme song on us like midway through season 2?
Yes.
I don't
Oh,
remember
I
that
actually
happening.
stopped
hated
watching.
that Randy Newman bullshit. The original one was perfect. It really encapsulated who he was, but the new one was just this oh, it was ugly. It didn't even sound good. But on top of that, Randy Newman is so played out at this point, you know?
I actually stopped watching it like partway through the second season. And I honestly, I don't think I even registered that it was because of the theme song change. But now that I think about it,
Oh, I hated it so. Let's put it, the fans of that show got so pissed off to the point where there was this writing campaign, and they never did change it. Every now and then they would use the original theme music, but they never did replace it back. But at one point, Sarah Silverman plays a character who's like a fan of something, and she makes reference to the theme song being changed to this thing she's a fan of, and you know, it was sort of like a subtle elbow in the ribs to the people who bitched about Monk's theme song being changed. So I don't know. I hate it when they change stuff like that, where it's like, it was so needless. Why'd you do it? It's like every time they decide to make a new Star Trek movie, they have to change the uniforms just because, well, I guess that's what you do. I don't know
yeah,
why.
because reasons apparently.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, there's like it's a post-capitalist society. They have no need for money. So maybe there's a lot of people with a sewing passion, so they change up the uniforms regularly to give them something to do so that they're not just sitting on their asses all day.
I'm pretty sure they replicate the uniforms.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're talking about designers more than people actually constructing them, it seems like the kind of thing that people wouldn't do by hand in the, what is it, 24th century,
Yeah.
23rd? I don't remember.
Something
24th.
something like that.
Yeah. Duck Dodgers in the 24th
Fourth
and a half century.
Planet X.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. I don't remember anything about Plan 9, or was it Plan 9 from Outer Space, but I know I watched it. Like, I know for certain I watched it. And it is weird. I can't remember the last time sci-fi used the concept of Planet X. It's been forever. Like, I really miss the innocence, the old sort of like pulp serial stuff. Because like there was something about that naivete, like that naive approach to a sci-fi world that just tickles me, I guess. Because it wasn't necessarily for children, but it also doesn't have that slavish devotion to scientific accuracy that everybody seems to have today.
Okay, well, I do kind of like the scientific accuracy thing when I think of Varen, for example. He tried to do what he could do with the science of the time and then project it out into the future, and that was something I liked.
Yeah, but usually when that's done, or at least, well, not so much anymore, but back in the day, the science usually took a back seat to any kind of story or character interaction. Usually, like I reread Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur Clarke, and all of the characters were just like these barely formed figureheads. They had names really only so you could tell who was who. really like whose job it was to do this, that, or the other thing. There were no personalities, there were no histories, no nothing. It was a great concept that he had come up with. But the execution left so much to be desired, because by the time it was over, all I knew was the concept. I had no idea, like I could not tell you the names of the characters at all. And
Okay.
so, and that was a huge part of the problem with the sci-fi, like, from basically before I was born, is most of the time it was being written by scientists for scientists, unless it was the stuff those people hated that was more the serialized pulp stuff. I mean, I think the person
Yeah.
who best bridged the gap was Heinlein.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
You don't have to give it to me, it's true.
Moof beef.
So I
But-
remember reading a book, and I absolutely loved it. Like, it was called Flesh and Silver, and the author's name, I think, was like Stephen L. Burns. And it basically took the concept of like a phantom limb, and it extrapolated on it, where you had the Bergman surgeons that they had a special procedure done that actually amputated their hands, and they were given silver prosthetics, but then they could remove the prosthetics to do a surgery where they were going in and fixing things on like a molecular level. But they were really mistrusted and mistreated. Like, when they were called in because they could fix things that other surgeons couldn't, but they were also shunned. And it follows the main doctor, who's definitely got a booze and prostitute problem, and he's one of these Bergman surgeons going around to all these different places. And like, it had a lot of character, and I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was a really cool concept too.
Okay.
It's always weird to me when there's like and it's usually a sci-fi thing, when there are these people who are absolutely necessary to society, and yet somehow no one can stand them. And it's just like, I've encountered that in so many different ways in like sci-fi and fantasy, and it's so very strange to me. A lot of people seem to love I chose this life, it means I live forever in solitude or whatever, but I get to do this extraordinarily important thing because of this sacrificey choice I made. And I see that trope every frickin' where. Like, I remember this one Shadowrun novel. There's this totally badass sort of like cyber samurai type guy who has these arms that are just black matte metal, right? And one of the characters asks, like, yeah, well, why did you have to have your arms replaced? And he goes, voluntary. It was a voluntary replacement. And the main character is listening to that going, wow, imagine walking into a doctor's office with two perfectly good arms and saying, okay, doc, lop them off of me. And like, that was an interesting concept, but it was just another outgrowth of the whole like just sort of, I don't know, I chose my pain to serve others kind of stuff. I don't know. Humanity has this weird like martyr fetish that I've never quite understood.
Yeah.
There's something on in one of the Gundam movies I watched where somebody had already been amputated, and then they lost one of their arms, but to operate this specific mech, they had to have all four arms removed. So they volunteered to have their final limb removed. And actually, at the end of spoiler, I guess if you're gonna watch it, at the end he was regretting having that done.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Well, there are the people who do want their limbs lopped off. I remember Trent Horn and I getting into an argument over that one.
Yeah, but that's different.
Okay.
Well, I mean, because, it's one thing to have your arms lopped off. It's another thing to have them lopped off and replaced with cybernetic implants that make you infinitely stronger. I mean, not quite the same thing.
Yeah, okay. And I do have to wonder about those cybernetic implants. Can you just see lifting whatever heavy weight it is and destroying the attachment points to the rest of your skeleton? It's like, well, that didn't work out too well.
But that's the cover of the book. I just put it in the private chat.
Oh, did you see Minnow's question?
No.
Yeah, she was wondering what the name of the story about the where is it? The story about the surgeons was.
It's Flesh and Silver by Stephen L. Burns.
Dayu
I don't
Koroshiki.
have the YouTube up, so let me correct that.
Along similar lines, like the guild navigators in Dune, as I understand it, start out fully human, but then immerse themselves in the spice constantly. So basically, they're spending the rest of their lives just completely stoned out of their gourds.
Right, right.
And it eventually turns them into this weird fish shape. And I'm like, imagine deciding that's what you want to do with your life. I mean, maybe if being perpetually high was that much fun, but at the same time, it just seems like a weird thing to say, okay, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in this tank and like carting people around in their spaceships all the time. Okay.
Mhm.
It'd better be a damn good high to do that the rest of your life and to turn
Yeah.
into a fish. I don't know. Someone somewhere would make that choice, but it strikes me as being along the same sort of lines as, like, oh, I'm going to make this sacrifice to do this, that, or the other thing. I'm trying to remember what the other thing was, where there was this guy who had like these mega powers, but he was in constant pain and he knew he was going to be when he got the powers installed, but like he thinks it's worth it to be able. I think there was something similar with Geordie LaForge's visor as well, where like using
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
you know,
frustrating in
he
my
would get
mind.
headaches.
you know, but
He would get headaches from using it.
it seems like that is a very common trope in human fiction.
But
I
then again,
mean,
Jordy was born blind, so it was either Well, then again, he did have the option to have implants and done instead of having the visor. So
humans do kind of have a persecution fetish. I mean, it goes back, to the Bible, and the Bible has very much shaped society as it stands.
Yeah,
And,
unfortunately, I have to say.
I mean, just the entire world has been shaped by the Bible. I mean, because whether it be the concept of manifest destiny and the way that the empires used colonialism to try to conquer the world, or even in the more mundane things where you have Christians with the persecution complex. And I mean, even people that are actually persecuted, like a few areas in the world where Christians are, or the Jews are persecuted quite a bit. Even to this day, anti-Semitism is a huge issue. But yes, they actually do have cause to say they were persecuted. But then if you look at like the historical record, like there's no evidence for them having been enslaved in ancient Egypt. So it's like, yes, in more like throughout the ages, they have been persecuted against. But even in the Bible, like it was the entirety of those peoples were supposedly enslaved there, but there's really no evidence for it. Like or they're 40 years wandering the desert. There's really no evidence for anything in the Bible. But I don't know. It's just like people just in general tend to be like have a persecution complex.
Well, the thing is, I'm not sure that it's necessarily a persecution complex as much as it is a worship of underdogs. Because let's face it, humanity loves a good underdog story of someone who's weaker triumphing over someone who's bigger and all of that
David
stuff.
and Goliath.
All of that, yeah. And so we'd probably all love to believe that we could be that smaller hero who defeats the big enemy. And I think a lot of people have tried really hard to make to make themselves into the underdog, to the point where it's so valuable to be that they'll make up persecution just to continue feeling like they're not the ones in charge, like they're not in danger of being the bad guy.
Right.
Yeah, it's
right.
like we
Fair.
can't be the bad guys. We're Christians. We're always persecuted. We're always the good guys. That seems to be what a lot of them are trying to say, and it seems to grow out of as much the whole I like being the underdog as much as it does from the persecution, we like to be persecuted thing. I think we like to be persecuted is just we love underdogs on steroids.
Well, and
Oh
it's like the same
no.
it's like the same people that They
on?
are like, oh, we don't want tax cuts for the wealthy because I could be wealthy someday. And it's like, bitch, you're probably never going to be a millionaire. So let them pay an estate tax, okay?
Well, but that's the thing is like a lot of, and I mean, I'm assuming the alt right playbook. The guy did a lot of his research. You know, I'm sure I can check all of it if I want to, but I'll cite it as a source now, a credible source now. Is that he was saying that people like their sense of persecution. It's not just sorry, I lost. I shouldn't have put the disclaimer on there. But it's just that there's more to it than that. It's a little more complicated. What were we talking about immediately prior? I hate my memory so much.
Persecution.
No, I need more than that. Like immediately before I started talking, what was Kitty saying?
Oh, oh no, I missed that one. I'm sorry, I forgot that one or whatever. Because I saw Chinese come in and my attention got diverted.
Yeah, no, there was something there and I lost it. It was something about persecution complexes and shit, but I don't remember. Oh well. Fuck, I hate my memory.
No, Stool's not here. You are.
Yeah, and that's what I thought you meant when you started saying, oh no.
Yeah, just going over the check.
Oh my, oh my, oh my.
But yeah, if you're always the underdog, then I guess you're never the villain.
Right.
Seems to be part of what they're going for. It's like, you guys are in charge now. You're the ones we have to be scared of, and I don't think they know what to do with that.
Oh, Sarah's here.
Because I think they all believe that they're going to be the persecuted. Oh wait, I remember. It was the temporarily embarrassed millionaires part. That's right. It was the alt-right playbook. All of that. Part of the mentality is that there's always a bigger fish. There's always a big dog at top, alphas and betas, sharks and minnows, right? The way the right wing looks at it is we can't tax the rich. They're rich because they're supposed to be rich. That's their destiny. They are the ones who were good enough to become rich. We can't spank them for it.
Yeah,
that would discourage them from being rich. No one would want to be rich if being rich came with penalties. Are you kidding? That seems to be a lot of their mentality. Is it's as much worship of the position as it is the benefits for it.
Most of them became rich from underhanded or criminal ways.
Well, that too, but I mean, I'm talking about like the average voter on the street thinks we can't we can't tax the rich because the rich deserve to be rich or they wouldn't be rich. It's their destiny to be rich, and so trying to tax them more is unfair because you can't punish them for success. And they all do look at taxes as a punishment of some sort. They don't stop and think of the upkeep of the nation. They just think that's the sort of thing private companies handle. I don't even really know what these people think the government is for except fighting wars and keeping down brown people and queer people. But seriously, I don't know what these small government types think the government is for.
Good argument.
Keeping them comfortable.
I mean, it seems like they have government because you gotta have government, but they really don't want it all that much.
I think I had one person tell me that it was just for maintaining the Constitution and that's it.
Well, what does that even mean? I mean, maintaining the Constitution, what does that mean?
Basically keeping the Constitution as is for all time, which apparently it completely ignores that what an amendment even is.
Yeah. And let's remember that when the Second Amendment was written, it would usually take about 1 to 2 minutes to reload a gun after you fired it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you could spit out 30 bullets in a second or two.
And then the Constitution is remarkably thin when it comes to operating rules. I mean, it sets up the framework, but day-to-day operation, I don't see any of that in there.
I don't know. There's times I wish that like I didn't have to do all of the dues paying to give certain things a try. Like, to stand up in front of a bunch of gun nuts and go, look, we might actually have similar goals. I just want fewer people shot, and preferably fewer people shot and wounded, if not shot and killed. I just don't want people shot, okay? Now, if
Yeah.
you can work with me to find a way that you guys get to keep your guns and fewer people are getting shot, that'd be great. I will work with you on that. But if you can't, then I'm going to have to prioritize people's lives over your hobby. I'm sorry, that's just the way it works. Aren't you guys the pro-life ones anyway? Just to see what they would say. Because these are all things that we, the people, have been thinking, but which newscasters and other politicians never fucking say. They never hold people's feet to the fire when it comes to this sort of thing. I've never heard anyone put it the way I just put it to a Republican, to a right winger, to an NRA member. I've never heard them say it that way. And I'd love to have the opportunity to try it, but I would have to pay so many dues. I have to go back to high school to pay those dues to get to have that opportunity. And I wish I had it without having to go through all of that nonsense.
Well, we just need everybody pointing guns at everybody, and if there's even one person not pointing a gun at somebody, we're all in danger.
It's just
Yeah.
this is why I homeschool. Like, my child is my whole life, and like with what happened in Texas, like I am paranoid as fuck. And I just fucking nightmare fuel.
Boy, how few people I have. Wait a minute, no, few more people. There we go.
And
didn't
sorry
know
about that.
any-
I got a call from my sister. Her husband hurt himself, and like it wasn't serious, but he shaves his head and he slipped and he basically scalped himself a little bit.
Ooh.
Like, you can see
Right.
the hair follicles in there and everything. Like he's probably never gonna have hair grow back in that spot.
Was he using like one of those barber's razors, or
No, it was a regular razor.
how did he manage this?
Skill, I guess.
I can't picture the logistics. I mean, granted, I've really only ever shaved my legs, but
Like
still.
my sister actually like saw that like the part that got shaved off was still stuck in between the blades of the razor, and so she plucked it out
Lovely.
with some toilet paper, and she sent me a picture, and you could see like his hair follicles in there. He
Oh, lovely.
fucker literally
Yeah.
scalped himself a little bit.
Mhm.
Wow, fun.
I did the same thing to my leg a few years back. Like, that area on the back of your ankle, like right here where it kind of goes narrow,
Oh,
like
too well. Yep.
with that tendon. It was right above that. I took about 3/4 of an inch long by about 1/2 an inch wide, like chunk, just straight out of the back of my leg there.
Oh my.
It bled so much.
Yes.
And it hurt, man. Like, I didn't feel it until the soap that was running down my body hit it. Then I felt it, and it was not fun.
Many
There
much
are some
capillaries there.
scenes.
Yeah.
0
From,
out of
like
10. Do not
movies and-
recommend.
There are scenes from movies and stuff that will live with me forever because they were that horrible. And one of them, I believe it was Pet Sematary, the original Pet Sematary movie made out of the Stephen King book, the one from the 80s, where like someone has their Achilles tendon severed by the bad guy using a scalpel. Like they're just out of nowhere, out of the dark, just lunged at their Achilles tendon and sliced it just like clean through with the scalpel. That will live in my head forever. It just, I don't know.
That scene
Yeah.
bothered me less than the scene in Cabin Fever where they had the flesh-eating virus or whatever, bacteria.
I don't
don't
think
remember.
I know it.
So it had Ryder Strong, the guy who played the neighbor in Boy Meets World.
Never watched it.
And there's like one scene where a girl is shaving her legs, and then she just starts crying because as she's shaving, she's literally just taking all the skin off. Then there's another scene where
Ooh.
two people are being intimate, and the guy thinks that he's pleasuring her, but it was really a necrotic hole in her thigh.
Oh.
It's rough, and like that movie stuck with me.
Well,
Wow.
there's one a Walkabout has near the beginning a scene with someone who has been immolated. It's a charred corpse. And I remember like my mom for whatever reason took me to that movie and I freaked out seeing that and we had to leave. Like seriously, the for my whole life, immolation is one of my worst fears. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
I think drowning tops it for me just because I mean, as much as it sucks, like eventually you would burn off your nerve endings. So like, but that fear of drowning, like I've had bad asthma attacks and feeling like you can't breathe, like is terrifying. So I think suffocation slash drowning would be worse than burning, but not by my, like they are fucking neck and
Hmm.
neck for me,
Well,
you know?
for me at least, like I know that if I stop, like if I start being able to breathe again, I can bounce back from it. But if my flesh has been charred off and then someone puts me out, that's for life. I mean, granted, asphyxiation after a while can really do a number on your brain, of course. But if like someone gets to you before you pass out, chances are good you can bounce back from suffocating, but you're not bouncing back from being roasted alive and then saved.
Thing
Yeah,
that's
at that point it's DNR. Just I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
out.
the thing
Yeah,
that the
which,
thing that
which is
creeps
why, but see, that's why for me, immolation is so much worse, is because it can do permanent damage even if you're saved.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
that kind
fair.
of creeps me up with one of the things was the necrotizing fasciitis is one of the things that creeps me out. Where there's skin,
Sorry.
you know what that is?
Is
Yes,
that
that's
the is that the
actually
one
what.
that got oh, what's the Muppet guy's name? Henson.
But
There's
the
two versions of it.
Well,
There's,
no, what,
there's
what
the
got
necrotizing
Henson was he was a
fasciitis.
Christian Scientist and
When
refused
I
the
was
blood
talking about
transfusion.
cabin fever, it was basically like a bacteria or a virus or something that caused necrotizing fasciitis, which is why
Yeah.
like it was just off.
Yeah, there are actually two versions of it. There is the bacterial infection, and then there's actually it's an autoimmune disease that can cause it too.
Yeah, then your own body's just like fuck you. I don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard
Autoimmune
of like
diseases
when
are
people's immune systems turn on them, where it decides the body itself is the foreign invader.
I have
Yeah.
that. That's what rheumatoid arthritis is.
Yeah, that's what I was
Ah.
afraid of having.
I was
I was
tested
actually
for that.
relieved to be told that mine was osteoarthritis.
Before I got my diagnosis, they were testing me for rheumatoid arthritis for the problems that I have.
It's not
And-
surprising. There are similarities between the two.
Yeah. And like ultimately, I don't know, like just there was a woman I remember like did anybody ever watch, sorry, my brain's just buzzing. Did anybody ever watch the show 1,000 Ways to Die?
Yes.
No.
No.
So it was basically pulling all of these stories that actually happened to people, and then they would show like a dramatization of it just for funny, and you were just laughing at different ways that people died. And like
Sure.
one of them was a guy wanted to do escargot for his girlfriend, and he pulled snails from his garden and did those, and it did not end well for them. Like they ended up with like brain parasites or something.
Yeah.
Ah.
Then there was an episode of it where she was a showgirl in Vegas and she hadn't changed her razor in a long time. And when she was shaving her legs, she nicked herself and that gave her the bacterial necrotizing fasciitis.
Ugh.
Or like a guy that goes to like rob a store and he does it in a dumb way and gets dead, or somebody that decides they want to bury themselves alive for a prank. Like there was
So
just all
Darwin
these different
Awards.
it was very
basically.
much a Darwin Awards show, and it had a lot of
Yes.
dark humor,
Mm.
which is right up my
Um,
alley.
Dark humor is like a child with cancer; it never gets old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, although these days I've heard that reworked to be about COVID.
Yeah, well, and with long COVID and the fact that apparently COVID shrinks your brain and can cause long-term psychological and physical disability and impairment, like it can cause depression and exacerbate mental illness or trigger mental illness you didn't know you had. There's a lot of bad shit about COVID, and
And-
people are all willy-nilly like they don't fucking care.
And that is the thing that's been bugging the crap out of me is I keep trying to explain to people who insist, no, COVID is just fine. Look at the death rates. Look at the survival rates. I'm like, yeah, but you're not looking at the long-term effects rates. You know, there are people probably walking around for the rest of their lives carrying oxygen tanks because of what COVID did to their lungs. And you're acting like it's perfectly hunky-dory to get COVID and survive it. You know,
Yeah.
and they will not hear that bit of nuance. They just don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, like, think about, like, I flew on a plane for the first time November 2001. I was scared shitless. I'm not gonna lie, because it was like a month and a week after September 11th. 2,000 people approximately died in that terrorist attack. And like airplanes and security, TSA, like so much change almost overnight. And a lot of things were changed. They took it seriously. We've had 1 million Americans die from COVID, and we're acting like it's nothing. Like nobody cares. There was a point when we were having more than a 9/11's worth of dead Americans a day. Nobody cared.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't understand it.
No, I do understand it. I can't condone it, but I understand it. Building blowing up versus people you never actually see footage of in sick wards. It's just one of them is the sort of thing that would sell tickets to a movie, and the other just isn't. That's what it comes down to. Is humans weren't excited by it.
And
I
even
saw
if you-
Contagion. Like, you could make a movie out of it. And like,
Oh, and I watched
watching Gwyneth
Outbreak,
Paltrow bite it in that
but-
movie, like, I a little bit of Schadenfreude in that
even if
one.
they even
But
if you
the
showed
main like group of humanity at large, they would rather watch the explosion than the virus. You know they would.
That's fair.
even if you showed them actual scenes of what what COVID did and all the people in the hospital and everything, I mean, they'd probably still say it was fake.
Well, it's
Some
like
of
I
them
keep
would.
saying, like if COVID were large enough that you could shoot it, then the right wingers would be the most anti-COVID people you ever met because it would be something visible. The fact that it's an invisible killer is the problem. That's why you can't get them enthusiastic about it.
That's why they don't care about like obesity or like, and even stuff that you could like theoretically shoot, you know, like
I'm
fucking
gonna go
school
out on a limb
shooters. Like,
until you can see obesity, but I'll just be over here.
no, but you know what I mean? It's like,
I know. I'm sorry. It was a cheap joke. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, like, there's so many issues in the country that they just want to pretend don't exist, aren't an issue. Like the fact that they want to force women to give birth when, you know, it is incredibly dangerous. Like the number one, like, fucking cause of death for pregnant women or women like postpartum within a year of their pregnancy is fucking homicide. Like they are immensely more likely to be killed while they are pregnant or shortly after their pregnancy ends. And people don't seem to care. Like women die in childbirth all the goddamn time.
Yeah,
but
carrying to
they don't
term is
care.
33 times more dangerous than getting a clinical safe abortion.
Now,
And then-
these homicides, though, I mean, these unwilling fathers, or is this more of a waddling speed issue?
It's both. Like it is domestic, and it's mostly domestic, but you know, it's just in general. And like when someone has a child with somebody, even if they are an abusive fuckwit, they're more likely to stay in that relationship because of the child, or at the very least have that person in their life because of the child. There are states in the United States that give rapists parental rights. They can sue for custody.
Yeah.
I'd say that's toxic masculinity, except there's so many women who go along with it willingly, even enthusiastically, which may be Stockholm syndrome. But then again, I get the impression there's some of them who actually love their subservient position, whatever status.
I don't know. And then all of these forced birthers, because I won't call them pro-life because they don't care about the kids that were just killed in Texas. They don't care about, the death penalty killing innocent people, people that were proven innocent that were killed, or the people proven innocent on death row that fortunately were saved before they were killed. They don't care about the children barely scraping by at the poverty line. They don't care that the single mother who is barely getting by with her one or two kids can't afford another kid and that it's going to take food out of their mouths. They don't care about the health care for the mental health for the school shooters or the just overall health of the parents. And they don't care about life after it's born. Carlin had it right. If you're preborn, you're fine. If you're preschool, you're fucked.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
All they care about is forcing women to be broodmares.
Now, here's one thing I do wonder, and this is a question you're not allowed to fucking ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The shooter in the whole Texas incident that just happened, right?
Okay,
I can never remember how to pronounce the name of the town, but whatever. They say that he was teased relentlessly. He had like a stutter and a lisp, and apparently his family was fairly low class, and he took a lot of shit for it. And you're not allowed to ask, gee, I wonder if this massacre would have happened if they teased him less. But I wonder if this massacre would have happened if they had teased him less. I mean, I know you're not allowed to blame anybody but the shooter, but, I have to wonder, like why nobody ever stops and says, gee, maybe we shouldn't give the outsider such a tough time. Maybe it might bite us in the ass one day.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I agree. Like, he's the one that made the choice, and it's not like if he had gone. All right, I'll say this. If he had gone after the people that had traumatized him, I could, see a little bit more. Like, obviously, it's not justified, at all, and I'm not condoning it. But it's a little more understandable if he were to go after the people that hurt him. He went after innocent.
But that assumes he's rational. That assumes, they may well have driven him insane. I mean, he may have been insane to begin with. I don't know, but maybe he was completely rational. I don't know exactly. It doesn't sound like it. But the point being is that he may have made an irrational decision, but that irrational decision, no decision is made in a vacuum. And if people are making your life an absolute torment and you lash out at them, might be a little bit their fault. Now, granted, at the same time, I can't condone what the guy did at all. But you're not even allowed to have the discussion about whether or not maybe we should treat people a little bit nicer, and maybe incidents like this won't happen as a result. You're just not allowed to have that conversation.
Yeah,
and that pisses me off a lot. As someone who endured a lot of torture through my life, it pisses me off that you're not allowed to have the conversation about maybe people wouldn't be lashing out so much if you weren't giving them a good goddamn reason.
And I mean, that's fair. But like, also, if we actually had a single payer healthcare system and we had access to therapy and medications, like, I doubt this would have happened.
True.
If we had a better funded school system where, the teachers didn't have 40 kids to a class, where they can't pay attention to the kids that might need a little bit of extra help for one reason or another. I mean, it's multiple dominoes that fall, and like, society failed that kid, I will say. However, he's still ultimately responsible for his choices. The blame falls on him because no matter what, like, I was tortured. My ex-husband actually literally tortured me, but I never killed him. Like, I probably would have gotten away with it. I doubt a jury would have convicted me after, seeing the evidence and hearing the testimony, but it doesn't matter. Like, I didn't lash out that way. I made a choice,
Well, but that's the thing that, hold on. But see, again, this assumes that all choices are rational and intelligently made. They're not always. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like to give anyone excuses, but I know firsthand what it's like to not be in control of yourself, to be feeling like you're looking at yourself from the outside going, I need to stop this and I am powerless to do so. I know what that's like. So, I mean, not every choice that's made is one that's made from a rational point of view, an unemotional and completely logical way. It just that's very rare to have happen at all. But sometimes it doesn't happen even a little bit, and
True,
there's
but
nothing you can do about it.
again, like even though like people had said, oh, he's going to grow up to be a school shooter, he was still legally able to go and purchase those guns. Like
Yes, and
we
that's a
need
problem.
it's a multiple layer thing. We need
Yeah.
healthcare, including mental health care for everybody. We need better
Well,
funded schools that can better tend to the needs of students and, have options available for those that are being tormented to give them help where they need it.
Yeah, but you know what? I still think that we need, and I realize this is my personal axe to grind, which is why I'm harping on it so hard. But we absolutely need to address the fact that kids do not treat each other with a certain amount of respect, necessary respect, to keep their mental state at like equilibrium. We don't put the responsibility on the ones who torture the other kids. We don't. I mean, we don't blame the bullies for bullying. We blame the victims for lashing out at their bullies. And that is something that I think absolutely needs to end, because I know there were times where I felt like I could absolutely not get justice. That no matter what happened, I would always, always, always get the short end, because somehow the bullies got to be the ones who were in the right, because I had finally lashed out after not getting help from the adults.
Well,
And
clearly,
that is a pattern that keeps on going, because we don't address treating each other with respect, treating each other in a neighborly fashion, walking away when you don't like something about somebody instead of stabbing them with it constantly.
well,
I mean, it just, we need that kind of sensitivity training for other kids.
clearly, as we can see here, we don't need gun control. We need God.
Well, either that or we just need people to actually parent their kids properly. I mean, seriously, like how many times have there been people out there where they're the parents of the bullies and they hear about what their kids have been doing and they don't react as horrified parents? Oftentimes it's like, yeah, stick it to that wimpy kid. I mean, it just doesn't seem like bullies are handled as the villains they are, and they should be.
If I ever found out my son was bullying others, he would be punished. Like I wouldn't beat his ass or anything because I don't believe in corporal punishment, but he would lose privileges and I would force him to sit down and see the consequences of what bullying does to people. Like there's tons of documentaries and testimonials and anecdotes out there. And I would want him to see the consequences of what that is for people.
I do wonder how many of these school shootings could have been prevented if other kids hadn't been royal dicks. I'm not, again, not making excuses for anybody, but let's face it, if you have a tool in your toolbox that can prevent a shooting and it's be nicer to someone, I will unashamedly say use the fuck out of that tool.
Yeah, I do think that if we spent more and invested more in education and teachers and just school in general, we could allow for that, because you wouldn't have as many kids crowded together where a teacher can't see everything that's going on, doesn't have the mental bandwidth to be able to keep an eye on all of the kids all of the time in class,
Well, but even above and beyond that, if a kid goes and tattles, nothing happens. Nothing happens. There is nothing in place to prevent further abuse of the kid who's complaining. The kid who's the victim of the teasing. There's nothing in place to prevent future teasing. There is no justice whatsoever. And that is, I think, part of why a lot of kids feel frustrated, powerless, and lash out.
Send the bullies to a different school. Like literally have a school for like delinquent kids.
Well, we
I
have
used to
that.
do
It's called
that.
juvie, and it doesn't work. It just puts all of the bad guys in one place so they can learn how to be better bad guys. What we need to do is find some way to get them to actually knock off the toxic behaviors.
Daju Korostu.
But of course, now we're getting into like, okay, orbital mind control lasers, because that's the only way to do it. I mean, I don't know how, is there even a way to make a bully stop being a bully? And, well, I take that back. Is there an ethical way to do it? I can't think of one.
I can't think of one. I can't. As much as I'd like to, I can't.
You know, the only way I can think of, the only language bullies seem to understand is doses of their own medicine. You know, when a bully is shown that someone else is more powerful than they are and can make them pay, that's when bullies start backing down. They don't back down to logic
Fucking
or
delinquent
reason.
school,
They
military school.
they tend to be the ones who delight in other people's pain. You can't point out to them, look at what you're doing to these people and how it's affecting them. That's why they did it. You know, I mean, their empathy gear is broken somehow, and they don't care about the pain they get off on the pain they're inflicting. It probably gives them a sense of power or something. The only language bullies understand is being intimidated the way they intimidate others. I don't know how else to get through to them.
That's why I'm saying, like, a school for delinquents / bullies, you know, remove them from the general populace, because most kids aren't bullies. They're not, you know.
Well, but I mean, if you send all these people to another school like that, I mean, at a certain point, it starts to get into, I don't know, sort of ishy areas, you know? I mean, because just saying, okay, you're all undesirable, you go away, you're untouchables now. It doesn't, I don't know. Some part of me doesn't sit right. I think rather than separating them from people, you have to actually make them see that there is a cost benefit thing going on, where it's better to be nicer to people. The consequences of treating other people nicely are better than the consequences of not, more desirable. I think that's the only way they'll learn the lesson.
And I'm not
You know,
saying you have to isolate them forever, but I mean, basically, like, essentially kind of like a sensitivity training, you know, like, and also require therapy. Like, you're not just separating them from the populace, and it's not meant to be, you know, punitive like our
So
current
you're not
justice
talking
system.
about jail.
No, I'm talking about
Alright.
a separate school where you have counselors and therapists, because kids usually don't bully for no reason. Sure, you might get the odd sociopath here and there, but for the most part, the kids that are bullies are kids that are either bullied themselves by someone bigger than them, or someone who's going through trauma at home, be it, you know, sexual abuse, physical abuse, you know, what have you. Bullies, more often than not, aren't bullies for no reason. If you remove them, you protect the kids that aren't bullies, and you can isolate them in a way that it's not meant to be a punishment, but meant to give them special help that they need. Be it sensitivity classes, therapy, you know, maybe have like CPS look in on their home situation and see. And it's meant to rehabilitate them the way our justice system should be used to rehabilitate people, because we don't want them to go back to being bullies when they leave the school. And it's not meant to be a you're untouchable, you go here forever. We don't want recidivism.
There's a problem with that, though, is that I'm not necessarily just talking about, like, you know, the school bully. When I talk about bullies, I mean, you know, even just teasing the different kid. You don't necessarily have to be a full-on bully for that. You know, you just have to see the kid who's different and be around a bunch of other people who think it's funny to point at someone's differences and laugh about it, you know, and get caught up in it. That's all that you have to do to start bullying someone, even if you're not a quote unquote bully with a trademark on the end of it.
Well, that
You
can
know,
get
I mean,
that can
so
get
it's-
pretty that can get pretty multifaceted, because it can
Well,
be.
and that's why I say this is kind of a problem, and I don't think you can solve it by just removing people and giving them sensitivity training. I think you have to do it in a more universally applied way,
Well,
unfortunately.
I also said, you know,
yeah.
adding more funding to the schools so that there are much fewer kids in the class, so the teacher can actually spend more one-on-one time, so the kids have more guidance. It's not just teaching to a standardized test and, you know, saying, okay, class, open your books to this and read it. It's more hands-on, and I think schooling should also focus less on teaching to pass standardized tests and more towards gearing people towards a future. College isn't for everybody. There's nothing wrong with going to trade school, and forcing kids who are not good at doing schoolwork or not good at book learning, for lack of a better term, that isn't necessarily going to help them, because if you give kids feelings of inadequacy, then that can harbor resentment, which can turn into treating others negatively. But if you do a curriculum that, applies to, these children to their strengths. So you've got the kid that he likes tinkering, and but he's not so great at, calculus, then, maybe guide him towards a program with like a trade school in mind where he could become a mechanic or, something along those lines, and not force all kids to, assume debt and go to college and get a degree that they will likely not end up using, but they can't really get hired anywhere without it, because even entry level jobs now are requiring 2 to 4 years of college. So we really need to revamp the entire system from the ground up, from primary education to secondary education. And we need to bring back an emphasis on trade schools, because of a lot of kids that end up being forced to go through high school, and they either quit high school before finishing, or they finish but then never go to college, or they drop out of college because it's not for them. And that's okay. It doesn't make them stupid. It just means that their skills and talents lie elsewhere, and there are tons of trades that they could do that would be more fulfilling and give them a solid career and a comfortable life,
Changing things from
Yeah,
the ground up
I'll
seems
actually be happy if the teachers just take it seriously when you tell them Bobby's pushing me, and do something about Bobby instead of you. And if you lash out and you say I did it because you weren't dealing with Bobby, that Bobby still gets fucking punished. I mean, that's the thing that bothers me the most about bullying, is that the bullies always somehow end up the hero of the story. Doesn't matter what. I mean, like, it could be you've been dealing with this person for fucking years and nobody has done anything. And so you finally took like the business end of a baseball bat to them. Then everyone acts like you're the jerk because you didn't just endure it.
That
And
happened to me in
that's
elementary
the part
school.
that needs to
changing
fucking end. That's the part that pisses me off. If you go to a teacher and say, I'm having a problem with this kid picking on me, that the kid picking on you is the one who gets the fucking trouble, and they get in trouble enough that they realize they got to stop picking on you. That's the part that pisses me off, is that they always got the most slap on the wrist, nothing, or they got the tiniest talking to, and now you're in a ton of trouble for tattling. There needs to be a system in place for kids to be able to say, I am being harassed, and have it actually dealt with and taken seriously instead of swept under the motherfucking rug.
I absolutely agree. Like when I was in elementary school, there was a group of girls that were absolutely fucking brutal to me. And there was one of them, she was the leader of the little like mean girls clique. The vice principal was her godfather. So literally, when I tried to report it, nothing was done. And then, I did, end up getting in trouble once because I was sitting there at my desk reading, leaning my head down while I'm reading. And she goes and grabs the hall pass, which was on a wooden block, and hits me over the back of the head with it as she's walking by. And then, oops, then she comes back in and she fucking knocks my arm out from under me, And I mean, I didn't slam my head into my desk, but, she thought I was going to. And so I stood up and I shoved her. And like I shoved her away from me after she put hands on me a second time. And I got in trouble. And, then fucking she fucked up my jaw when she hit me in the face. And like I have TMJ now. And I had wanted to play the flute in middle school, but I couldn't because the way you have to set your mouth in order to play it caused me splitting migraines. But she never got in trouble at all because her godfather was the principal. And unfortunately, I don't know, like, I don't know how that really could have gone differently, especially because, Here I was the white girl that fought back against the black girl, and then they wanted to put this spin on it that wasn't there. It was just this bitch was tormenting me, and I fought back. But then they tried to turn me into being a monster for shoving her after she had fucking hurt me multiple times,
Yeah, see, that's
including
the
the
thing.
punch.
But like, I'm sorry, but who started it fucking matters. Who was the aggressor fucking matters. I've been told this my entire life. It doesn't matter who started it. Yes, it does. Because if the incident wouldn't have happened because of someone else like deciding to not do a certain thing, then clearly they are the ones at fault. They are the ones that started. They are, without them and their behavior, this incident would never have happened, and that matters. But it was never treated that way. Who ignited the explosion was never treated as important. And I'm sorry, but it fucking is. And if you're out there listening to this and you don't care who started it, you're a dick. I'm sorry, but you are. It mattered, because if a kid's being bullied and they fight back, and then you punish them for fighting back, well, they fought back because you're not there for them. They fought back because it was the only thing they could do. And if you get them in trouble for that, I'm sorry, you're an asshole. If you don't listen to them when they say I didn't start it, you're an asshole, because you don't care about the truth, you don't care about justice. All you care about is it being quiet again.
Yeah, no, like,
Selfish pieces of
preach.
shit.
I mean,
Just saying, I'm sick and tired of that shit. And it seems to me that people whose tempers are less restrained than mine, and I don't claim to say that mine is restrained at all, it wouldn't shock me if some of the school shooters do it out of anger because they feel so powerless because no one will fucking take them seriously.
Well, I mean,
Isn't that how it was with the Columbine people?
I'm not sure how much like bullying played in. I think they were just like kind of outcasty weird kids, but it could have been severe bullying that played into that. I don't know. I was really young, or relatively young, when Columbine happened, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, I remember when I was in school, they actually tried to they kept checking, make sure I didn't have a gun because they thought I was the sort of the type that would do something like that after the shooting.
I probably would have been checked too. I mean, I'm that same
basically
kind of weird.
so they're basically alienating more kids from that shooting.
I mean, I was the goth girl in school, like wore black, hung out with all the freaks, geeks, and weirdos. And, I had my little clique. Like, I was miserable through elementary and middle school. It wasn't until I got to high school and I realized I don't fucking care what any of these people think. I'm just gonna be me. And, it made life a hell of a lot better. Like, I was much less miserable, and I found, my group, I found my people that they, respected me for who I was and accepted me. And so, that was great, but not everybody had that. And I understand that, and even outside of school, like, it's not like bullying goes away. Like, when Amber Heard first came out with, her and had her like Me Too thing a few years back, I stood with her. Like, being a survivor of domestic violence myself, I believed her. But after hearing the recordings of her, the things that she said with her own mouth, like, it's not even a he said, she said, it so much reminded me of my ex-husband, that belittling and like the honeyed venom where you try to just break a person down. And I honestly, I think that it was a toxic relationship. And I think that, Johnny's not a perfect victim, but you're never going to find a perfect victim. But I do believe that he is the greater victim in the situation. I think she started it. And I think that she is incredibly abusive and toxic. And she reminds me of my ex-husband.
Also, women who lie about that kind of thing, lie about
Oh,
being
it pisses
raped.
me
Or
off so
in
much.
some ways, I consider that even worse than the actual offenders who do that kind of thing, because it makes it harder for women who actually go through those things to be believed even the next time around.
You're absolutely 1,000% correct. You've got other people that had their, Me Too thing, and people are like, oh, no, because like Amber Heard obviously is a lying bitch. So like this person, it didn't really happen to them. And it's like, I'm sorry. Like I know what it's like to have your significant other take your medications away, to watch you go through withdrawal, to withhold food and watch you waste away to 84 pounds. I know what it's like to be in that withdrawal and in so much agonizing pain that when you're trying to go to the bathroom, you fall and end up on the floor. And then you lie there for 2 days in your own filth until he deigns to bring you something to help the pain ease up enough so that you can go and get up off the floor. Like, I know what that is like. And the shit that Amber said pissed me off because I've been punched. I have been assaulted in multiple ways by more than just my ex husband. And she minimized that trauma and weaponized it for personal gain. She tried to control Johnny. He decided he wanted to get out, so she decided to punish him. That's what it seems like to me. Sorry. It's something I'm very
No, it's
passionate
not that.
on.
Nothing
It's
to be
just,
sorry
it's just,
about.
I don't know what to say after something like that. It's like, it's pretty far outside of my own experience. I've had experience with trauma, I've had experience with, but not like that. I haven't.
So, like,
So it's just hard to
I
relate to, is all.
no, and that's fine. But I honestly believe that, just like I made a TikTok, with the Roe v. Wade thing, talking about the abortion that I had and why I did it and why I don't regret it. And because I feel like, especially now, even though a fraction of a percentage is, false reporting when it comes to things like this, those speak so much louder for everyone else, and it puts doubt. There's already doubt in the minds of people when survivors come forward. So I share my experience. It took a long time to be able to talk about it, but I have gotten to a place where I can. And there are other people out there that they can't. They are still too traumatized. They can't speak out. So I feel like because I can, I need to, because there's stigma around, well, why didn't you leave if it was so bad? But like, they don't understand that the cage you end up building in your mind is stronger than any cage your abuser can put you in. They very much break you down at points you think you deserve it, you can't do any better, that there's nothing beyond that. And you have that fear that if I leave, then I'm just going to end up out on the street, or I'm not lawyers. And when you're disabled and don't work, so yeah, I feel like because I can, I should.
It's the fleas in the box. It's a little thing. I'm not sure if it's a true experiment or not, but somebody put like a bunch of fleas in a box. They cover the top so the fleas can't jump out. So the fleas keep jumping and they keep hitting the lid. Eventually, the person removes the lid, and since the fleas got used to just hitting the the top of the box, they don't jump as high anymore, so they never jump out.
Yeah. No, and I mean, hell, there was once a domestic violence call that happened with my ex, and it was chilling because it was the first time that he ever actually like put hands on me. And we had gotten into an argument, and I mean, I was like 20, 21, and I had a laptop and he didn't. I had used inheritance from my grandmother to get the laptop. And he was playing World of Warcraft on it. And I told him, hey, I have a raid. I need it back by this time. And he wouldn't give it. So then I, unplugged it and took the power. I was like, okay, well, when it dies, then I need it back because I need the raid. I was going to get set up in the other room. And then he took it and he smashed it. over his knee and flung it at me. And I was mad and I didn't handle it well. So, like, I smashed his phone and went out and started uselessly, like, punching at his car. I couldn't do anything to it, but it wasn't the healthiest of things to do. But then he came out and he grabbed me and he threw me down onto the concrete and started kicking me in the ribs. And a neighbor saw and called the cops, but he had been drinking. And I started having a panic attack because, like, breaking stuff is not healthy, but it is not the same as breaking a person. And it was the first time. So I'm tears and snot and, like, I can't breathe. And I'm just, like, all fucked up. And he had the cops convinced that I was on psychiatric medication and that I had missed some doses. And because of that, I was the unstable one, even though I had bruises on me and the eyewitness had been drinking. So my ex was able to just talk it away because he was incredibly charming and silver-tongued, for lack of a better word. And he was very manipulative, and he was able to twist a situation that would have been bad for him in his favor to make it look like I was the one that had a problem, and that since I didn't have my meds, which I've never been on psychiatric medication, it was just a bald-faced lie. But it was like, oh, well, should we take her in for a 72-hour hold? I just got beat up, and they're talking about putting me in a psych ward for 3 days. That solidified to me that I couldn't go to the police for help. And it was the first time he put hands on me, I found out that I couldn't go to the police for help because he would just talk his way out of it. And it just got worse from there.
And that's part of the psychological abuse.
And that's part of why you're afraid to leave. It's always the devil you know. So, how about them Patriots?
Caio Corlostu.
We could almost apply that, what you just said, to how we vote.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm at a point now where I am so sick and tired of trying to convince people to get their heads out of their asses when it comes to voting. I'm halfway to just checking out of the fucking system completely and not even bothering, because honestly, like, I can't convince people to not be in their own way. And I'm not willing to vote for lesser evils. No one's willing to nominate greater goods. So what's the fucking point?
I mean, that kind of mindset is what leads. I mean, that's what the corporatists in the Democratic and Republican parties want. They want that
I
voter
don't care.
apathy.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing, is it doesn't matter if that's what they want. I have been spending ages trying to get people to see the problem with their thinking, and it's not working. Okay? I'm tired. I am sick and tired of trying and not being listened to and not being taken seriously. And then finally, if someone starts to come around on something I've been saying for years, do I get any mea culpas? No. Do I get any, oh, that's what you were talking about? No. I'm sick to fucking death of it. And I don't see the point anymore, because it will never change in my favor. Nobody will ever see it the right way. People are too fucking stupid. Why bother?
I mean, I just can't give up because, all that is required for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
No, all that's required is for good men to be fucking stupid, is what's required. I am sick and tired of acting like there is something I can do when everything I do gets me nowhere. I mean, I'm sorry, but what is the point? I feel like I'm wasting all of my time and energy because no one's ever going to come around. I don't feel like I've ever made a goddamn dent when it comes to politics at all. And so I am just seriously tired. I am bone deep weary of trying to set things on the right course. It's never going to happen. I mean, everyone's running in the wrongest directions as it is. It may be that I'm the problem. I can't convince people. I convince them to go the other way. I don't know what the fucking problem is, but what I know is that everything keeps going in the wrong direction and no one listens to me. And I get told to shut up all the time. I get told to conform all the time, and I'm sick of it. And I'm just done with all of it. I've had it. There's no point. No one listens. No one has sense. So, at this point, I'm just pissing into the wind by voting.
I mean, it's one of those things. I doubt I'd be able to change your mind on this, but I take a different approach. I'm a little bit more pragmatic in that, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort.
We don't have time.
I
That's the
know
problem.
that we don't have time.
We do not. We are on a complete and total time crunch. It is not pragmatic to take the long view anymore. Right now, we have to kick ass and get things on a course where the environment itself won't kill us.
I get that,
we don't
but
have time for kid gloves anymore.
With votes leached away, we still have a two-party duopoly, and with votes leached away from, like, if you're voting, Green Party, or even some libertarians aren't crazy, but if you're voting based on your conscience, but it's not for one of the two parties, then it's if you're trying to stop the bad that the Republicans and the corporatists are doing, not voting or voting third party right now until the system is changed.
The system will not be changed by voting for lesser evils. The system will not be changed by doing the same things we've been doing over and over. It's time for change, not the same shit we've been doing over and over. I'm sorry, but what you're advocating right now is a recipe for the same thing that we've been doing for decades. What you're talking about is the common wisdom that hasn't been working. Everyone has been saying to me what you've been saying to me.
It hasn't been working because the Democrats have been chicken shit.
Okay, that common wisdom does not work. It is time to start going out on a limb. It's time to take a chance. It's time to take a risk. We cannot play it safe anymore. We don't have time to play it safe anymore. Anyone
and when the Republicans win
parties
and they do a nationwide abortion ban,
in a progressive way are part of the problem, propping up the status quo. You are part of the problem by doing it.
Yes, but when the Republicans, and they've already said that they want to do a nationwide abortion ban after Roe falls, when what you're doing, if it leads to the Republicans getting back in power and they set us back another 50 years, then slow and steady wins the race.
No, it doesn't. Slow and steady does not win the race when the finish line is right in front of your nose.
Maybe, but again, if the Republicans regain power, we are more fucked.
If the Republicans, what if the Democrats get their heads out of their asses and start behaving like progressives? I am sick and tired about the whataboutism when it comes to the bad guys. What if we came together and collectively made things better instead of constantly playing defense?
Yeah, well, the Democratic leadership are chicken shits.
That's the problem. We keep voting for chicken shits. That's the problem.
I'm not saying vote for Pelosi. I advocate vote in the primary for progressive candidates. But if the progressive doesn't
not enough
win,
of us are doing it. That's the problem. Not enough of us are getting our heads out of our asses fast enough, and I'm sick and tired of trying. It's not getting me anywhere. It's just making me angry. So it's easier to give up. Because giving up, at least I can enjoy what time is left. Trying to fight for something where everyone's fighting against it as hard as they can, including the people who are nominally on my own side, is just absolutely exhausting, and I've had enough of it. But I am not going to conform to the status quo that's never worked. I'm not going to keep doing what's not. I mean, what's that definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Because that's what you're advocating.
Nearly half of the people who voted for Hillary only did so because they thought she was the pragmatic choice over Bernie.
I voted for Bernie.
Well, I'm done being pragmatic. I am sick and tired of the practical, of the slow and steady. It is time we had a dreamer with attitude who wants to kick ass instead of someone who just wants to tread water for 4 years. I'm sick to fucking death of this shit.
That was
Runner-up.
yeah, that was
But by telling people that they have the Democrats to go to as a safety net, keeps them from voting for third parties. Telling people you have to vote for the Democrats or else the Republicans will win. That is that is kind of an abusive tactic. You have to be with us or else they'll get you.
well. The only way we could.
That is, I'm sorry. No, I'm going to vote my conscience. I'm going to vote for people who agree with me philosophically, politically, morally, ethically, all of that. And I am not going to vote just to play defense against the goddamn right wing. It's time we started being proactive.
There's also a monetary wall that keeps some of us from being able to run.
Yeah. And the fact that if you don't have enough of the vote, you can't even get on the national stage for a debate, which is why I see the logic in focusing on getting, more progressive candidates in, the House and Senate and trying to slowly get things changed because
Well, slowly ain't gonna work. Sorry, if I ever hear slow or steady, I'm sorry, I'm breaking in and saying it's not going to work. Right now, we need things done and we need them done now and fast. We do not have time to piddle around like just twiddling our thumbs, hoping everything gets better. We have to take actual drastic action. And hoping that some milquetoast, middle of the road dino is going to get it there when the people who are passionate have their right-wing demagogue for them. It's just not gonna happen.
but that
We need a
right-wing demagogue
left-wing
wants us to
demagogue.
become a fascistic dictatorship.
Well, I'm sorry, but what we've got going on right now is not going to get us where we need to go. Okay, doing the same thing we've been doing that doesn't work isn't going to get us where we need to go. Look at how it's failing.
I mean, again, though, like we are set to have civil rights set back 50 years.
Then
Right
maybe
now.
you should have thought of that. Maybe all of us on the left should have collectively thought of that before going for idiots like Hillary and Biden as our nominees.
They weren't my candidates.
Well, I don't care. They were a lot of people's candidates, and they shouldn't have been. The people who are sticking to this blue no matter who bullshit, as long as it's not Bernie, are the ones who are making this happen. They are the ones getting in the way of any kind of progress.
Look, Bernie was my guy in 2016 and in 2020. I voted for Bernie in the primary, and I got other people to do the same. Unfortunately, not enough young people go out and vote. Full stop.
And I blame.
Well, that's just too goddamn bad. Okay,
I-
these are all excuses. Okay, we had the opportunity and we blew it, and we got Trump as a result.
and these people would
Okay,
be going.
that is the problem that's going on here, is that people are wasting these opportunities because they are shit scared of the other side.
And these
And I'm
people.
sick to death of it.
And these people would be going out and voting if they weren't being disenfranchised by the Democrats, or whatever party that's supposed to represent them and aren't.
Well, nobody represents me right now. Nobody does.
That's what I'm saying.
And nobody will vote for, everyone who will vote for someone who's going in the opposite direction. Even
Oh.
Biden is going in the opposite direction. Hillary is going in the opposite direction of what I want.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the Democrats should be representing you. They should be representing me. But they're not.
Yeah, but
And that's
that's
why-
because
and that's
we
why-
keep voting for them out of fear of the other side.
And that's
We
why
keep re-electing the same fucking people.
And that's why we keep getting more and more disenfranchised voters. So I disagree with blaming the disenfranchised voters. It's the party that's disenfranchising that we need to be blaming for that.
I'm with Mage on this one. Like,
Well, yeah, the
They're
party
being
is
beat
disenfranchised me
down.
too by not representing me anymore.
I mean,
So
to
now
be
we're
fair, the
let-
party's never really represented you. You're a fucking progressive.
whatever, but the point is that they're going in the wrong direction as it is, and everyone is willingly going with them. That's the part that's pissing me off, is that I can't get anyone to see what's happening 2 inches in front of their fucking nose.
So now we're left with a party that's not going to represent us, because we have to be scared of the party that's going to work against us. How is that? I don't see the logic in that.
Well, the logic in that is that people are frightened little creatures who don't do what they need to do because they're scared of what might happen if they try. That's what happened, is people were too scared that Bernie was unelectable, and that's why they didn't nominate him, that they went with the safe candidate. And I hate how people will not engage with me on this one on my terms, is that they say, well, Hillary would have won, but she had 3 million more votes if it were the popular vote. And I'm like, yeah, but against Trump it should have been so much more than 3 million. This is not a time to take a victory lap, people. If you look at how close it was between Hillary and Trump, and how close it never should have been, that should have told people that the Democrats were headed in the wrong direction, but instead they went in exactly the same direction with Biden.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we are looking at a fascist takeover of our country, and if that doesn't scare you.
People are suggesting as the solution is not a solution at all. It is fucking bullshit that will not work. I'm sorry, but like going with lesser evil candidates and hoping against hope that somehow this will give us the time to regroup against the Republicans. Well, look at how well that's worked in the last decade or two. It hasn't. Things have gotten worse. And all I'm hearing from people is keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. There's no amount of like, hey, why don't we try something new going on? And that is what I'm not seeing, and that is what we absolutely have to see, because it's not working.
What about going and, supporting an organization like Wolfpack, which they are trying to get a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics? That's the number one reason why we're disenfranchised, and
I do
why
actually agree with
they don't.
What they're trying to do there. Well, even when we get the Democrats in and they actually have the power to do something, more than often than not, they don't reverse course.
Yeah, the Democrats don't do anything. It's the ratchet effect. The Democrats block all progress until there's a Republican in. So even the Democrats don't like shaking things up. That's the problem. And when I say Democrats, I don't mean the voters.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't. The politicians do not like to shake things up. They don't like to rock the boat. They're all and they don't, because they're afraid that they won't get elected if they cause waves, if they fail. They're too afraid of losing their jobs if they fail.
That's what's causing them to lose.
Yeah, and
what's causing them to lose is moving to the right. They run to the right.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about running to the right. That's what they're doing. That's why they keep losing. They keep trying to appeal to some mythological center. And the center is responding to passion, which they're finding on the right, not the left. That's why I keep saying we need a dreamer with attitude on the left, like Bernie, who might unite people. But unfortunately, the left is too shit scared of its own shadow.
And we need somebody with Bernie's policies and Trump's crassness.
Yeah, basically, we need someone who can do to the left what Trump did to the right, just not for evil.
We need a left-wing Tea Party.
Basically, yes.
The thing is, though, attempts have been made, and everyone has rejected them because they wanted to go with the safe candidate, because what if the Republicans win? That's been the bane of the Democrats' existence, of the left's existence for decades, is you have to vote for this one because what if the Republicans win? That's always been the cudgel they've used, is be afraid of the other side. There has never been, here's what we want to get done. Or when it has been, and I'm looking at you, Obama, it's been bullshit. I mean, he ran on change, and look at what we didn't get.
Of course, Obama.
So, I mean, basically, like seriously, going with the safe, slow and steady path is what got us where we are today. We can't keep doing it.
Of course,
we
Obama
can't keep
came out.
throwing good money after bad.
Of course, Obama came out and said he was basically a Republican anyway, after the fact.
Yeah, after the fact. But I mean, he ran on change. That was that iconic poster, change. And he was lying. He didn't want to change anything. Or if he did, he had it beaten out of him.
I don't think he wanted to change anything to begin with.
And this is what we get when we vote for people like Hillary or Biden. This is what we get. But all I hear is advocacy.
If who's going to get you in there
to do it. I mean, seriously, when is the time to try something new and different? When do we decide this shit ain't working? We need to shake it up. When? What criteria need to be satisfied before we start changing course? I rest my case.
No, I get it, and it's frustrating, I mean, there is no like simple answer. There's no simple solution, because ultimately we are damned if we do, damned if we don't. There are far too many things in place to prevent a third-party candidate from being viable at this time.
Well, it doesn't even have to be a third-party candidate. It could have been Bernie. People would have not elected Bernie. People would have come out to vote for Bernie. And
oh, absolutely.
And that's the problem, though, is that the voters were snowed into being scared of the other side. That's what happened. And of course, also Obama's little late night phone calls to get Booty Judge and What's-Her-Face to drop
fucking Bloody Monday.
Yeah.
That did not help. But I mean, the point is, though, that the voters were frightened into voting for Biden by using Trump as the demon. That's what happened. And if they hadn't given in to that lizard brain response, if they'd been able to listen to their logical center over the sound of their knee jerking, maybe we might have actually had a decent president. But instead, we got this middle-of-the-road milquetoast bullshit guy who still thinks he can squeeze some sort of bipartisanship out of the other side. It's bullshit, and I'm sick of it.
Also, whenever
the only bipartisanship will be whatever fucks us over.
Also, whenever we get the third-party vote is often blamed for or the loss of whatever the Democrats lose. And that's bullshit.
Okay. And here's one I can't get people to engage with me on. All right. Seriously, and I want someone to engage with me on this shit. Explain this shit to me. One side says blue no matter who. The other side says Bernie or bust. And for some reason, everyone congealed around the no matter who fuckers. And I'm like, look, if one side is telling you our heels are dug in, if you want us, you have to join us. And you guys say, nah. I mean, seriously, the one side says no matter who, except that guy, apparently.
It's like
someone fucking explain that to me.
It's like when they
corporatism and the money in politics. Bernie didn't take the money.
No, but I mean, I heard this from voters, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you think that if you have one side saying that we're only going to go with this one guy, the rest of one who would go with anyone should go with that one guy.
But apparently not.
Is the option.
Again, the scare tactics work.
I say people are stupid. I am sick and tired of trying to talk sense to stupid people. It never works.
No, you do not want any.
And honestly, I just don't see any sense in voting anymore until people start getting their heads out of their asses and start being willing to take a risk. But all that ever happens when these elections come around is I get frustrated, I start yelling, and I lose friends. I'm sick of it because I can't affect anything. Nothing's ever going to change for the better. No one's ever going to fucking agree with me enough to vote on it. So I'm done. There's no point. I am useless to the equation, irrelevant to the equation at this point, whether I vote or not.
Run for public office. Even if it's just local.
I'm not going to run for public office. There are too many reasons why I would not succeed. Hell, even just my atheism content alone would keep me from running for office or from succeeding. I mean, there's too much ammunition out there for my opponents to get their hands on. It's just not going to happen.
Then find somebody. Find somebody near you and help them run for office.
Even at local levels,
why?
They could cost thousands
I mean, the problem
is
not the people running. The problem is the voters having their heads up their asses. That's the problem, is you can't convince people to not be in their own way.
Well, you need a spotlight.
I looked into
Well,
running.
it's not going to happen. I'm out of energy. I am done. I am drained. I mean, that's the thing is if I felt even a little bit like I was making a tiny scrap of difference, if I felt like maybe I was changing a mind or two, then maybe I'd think it was worth it. But I've been screaming into the wind for too goddamn long and I'm done.
The third party vote being blamed is also bullshit. Like with going back to the whole Hillary thing, they blamed in third party votes for her loss. I went through the election and giving everyone of Jill Stanning's votes to Hillary, and she still lost. I think she only picked up maybe one state, but it still wasn't enough to get the Electoral College over to her side.
Yeah, speaking of, the Electoral College is fucking racist and antiquated, and it needs to go away. It should be a popular vote for the president.
But
Well,
it's not
I've
going to
been
go away
saying
because
that
we
it
need the
needed to go away for the
cooperation of
last
the
50
people who
years.
depend on it.
Well, yeah, the Republicans would never win a presidency again if the Electoral College went away.
But I mean, it's never going to go away because we need the cooperation of those people to get rid of it. You know, I don't see that this country is salvageable via democracy because democracy requires one side to play by the rules, or rather,
And the Republicans
all
will
sides
not.
to play by the rules, but one side is refusing. So what do you do at that point? I mean, democracy can't be saved if democracy can't be done. You know?
I mean, you're not wrong.
I don't see how this ends well for anybody, except the fascists if they win. But even if we win, there'll still be this like loose knit, if knit at all, collection of people who are not culturally like homogenous the way that the right wing is. I mean, we are constantly getting in our own way because we don't have that party unity that the right wing has. Too many of us are willing to think on our own, and we don't agree with the rest of us.
Well, I mean, part of the Republicans' thing is they just vote straight Republican ticket, no matter what.
Yeah, and I'm unwilling to do that. I have to actually agree with a candidate before they get that check mark.
Okay,
so,
yeah,
and
here
that's a
we
bit
are.
of a high bar for the Democrats. If they have to actually appeal to the voters instead of just not be as scary as the Republicans, I mean, gee, that's going to be tough for them because they've never had to, not in my lifetime.
Yeah. If you took all of Jill Stein's votes and gave them to Hillary, the numbers, the electoral votes would turn out to be 258 for Hillary and 280 for Trump. And
well,
I mean, there were some third-party voters that, you know, they voted libertarian. Like the more, you know, like libertarian socialist types might have voted libertarian on that ticket. So
I looked into some of that as well. It still didn't add up.
no, I'm not saying it necessarily made a difference.
Yeah,
I'm
I also looked at Gary Johnson's votes and tallied
he's
them
a
up.
fucking weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Gary Johnson being out of the, actually, he siphoned more votes from Trump than you did Hillary.
Yeah. Like there was one person, my sister ended up voting for her in the last election. Like she basically wanted to decriminalize all drugs. And she was a libertarian candidate. And I was like, I mean, that I actually agree with, you know? Like I consider myself a libertarian socialist. Like I think that you should have absolute bodily autonomy when it comes to your own person and do whatever you want with your own body. You know, but you don't get the right to do anything to anybody else's. And I believe in strong social safety nets. So it's like decriminalizing drugs, have Medicare for all, allow abortion, allow same-sex marriage, sodomy, all the things that the right wing want to take away. I'm also non-interventionist. I mean, It's one thing if it's like a UN coalition to go do something, but for the most part, we should focus our efforts on this country, not fucking going and getting companies lots and lots of money by stealing oil from the Middle East.
Well, here's where I basically stand. And if you can give me, you have Medicare for all, UBI, getting rid of the dark money in our politics, basically buying and selling our government, or actual good policies on environmental control. If you can give me at least 2 of those, I'll vote for you. I mean, honestly, fight. I don't necessarily expect them to win and actually get those things through necessarily. But if they're actually honestly trying to work towards that.
It's like, I understood the appeal of Andrew Yang with his UBI because Bernie's jobs guarantee, that's great, but that would have been better in the earlier 2000s. At this point in time, we're reaching a point, like, there are a lot of people that would be left behind by something like that. People that, have to stay at home because they're a full-time carer, people who are disabled and can't work. It's like, yeah, you have a federal jobs guarantee. That's great, but I can't work. Or I'd like to work, but I have a disabled child I need to take care of. So a UBI makes sure that nobody gets left behind. Yeah. I didn't like that he was like, your UBI would replace any, like, if you got food stamps or anything like that. I think it should be supplemental, because if you're already on food stamps, that means you're not doing so great in the first place. So you keep maybe bump that up a bit, and then do the UBI.
Rewind. Hold on. I got the impression that what was meant was that you will be getting UBI and what you were getting with food stamps. It'll just be all consolidated into one account.
No, he said it was going to replace food stamps.
That's what I
Yes, but no, but that what replace food stamps and what I just said can be the same thing. You see, like, let me put it this way. If I was, say, on food stamps, I'm getting 100 in food stamps, and then I'm getting 100 in UBI, I got the impression that it would be like, okay, well, now you're just getting 200 in UBI, where the money that would have been food stamps is now UBI money.
No, he was saying basically get rid of food stamps, and the way I read it in his proposal, it would replace food stamps, not supplement it.
Okay. Can we talk less about the names of things and more about the amount you'd be receiving?
So if you were getting 200 in food stamps and then the $1,000 UBI, you just get the $1,000 UBI. You don't get the 200 on top.
All right. See, replacing, the word made it sound like...
It's okay.
Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, the way his policy was...
That was not the impression I'd gotten, but okay, clarification accepted.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no worries. And thank you for asking for that. Like, I very much like when someone, if they don't understand something I'm saying, I would rather try to find other ways to explain it so that we have good communication, because I think lack of communication breakdown is one of, like, the fundamental flaws of our species, and a lot of bad things happen because of it. So any chance I have where I can make sure that we're on the same page, I absolutely love. So thank you for that. Not everybody will ask, and
not everybody will answer. I mean, a lot of times when I try to ask people questions like that, usually they think they've been completely clear. So clearly I'm just being a jerk. But no, it's my neurodivergent ass didn't quite understand you. Maybe you said something in an ambiguous fashion. So I'm asking just to make sure that I'm not going to be responding to something you didn't say. I'm asking for the benefit of everybody. Now, unlike you, most people will get their panties in twist over it. You, on the other hand, seem quite willing to clarify, and believe me, that's a breath of fresh air. Breath of fresh air.
I love that.
You have no idea how much of a relief it is to have someone be willing to clarify their words without taking the question as I don't know, an assault or whatever. I don't know. So thank you for that.
If I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying something and it seems like they don't get it, even if they, don't ask like you did, and like I said, I really do, like, honest to God's, appreciate you asking, because I want us to be on the same page. But if it seems like they're not getting it, but they haven't said anything, I'll be like, do you understand? And then I might try rewording it a different way. And Like that's one of the things that, you know, my neurodivergent ADHD friends say that I tend to do is I over explain things. So like I'll explain it one way, and if it doesn't seem like it's getting through, then I'll do it another way, and I'll just keep going until something clicks for the other person because I want the communication to work.
Yeah, and I mean, I tend to do the same thing too. It's just like, well, the communication has a tendency to bounce off of people. I mean, tell me if you've had this experience. You explain something to someone, they get it wrong. You try to clarify, they try to fit your clarification into their
wrong thing.
Yes.
It's so frustrating because you're like, no. Can we just like reset and start over and forget, like, you know, motion to discount, like, you know, motion to strike, like let's just forget all of the shit before and we'll start from square one.
Yeah, and they can't do it. And most people cannot start from square one. It just doesn't, I don't know, it's weird. Like, to me, that's the most natural thing in the world. I didn't understand, start from the beginning. Like, one of my mantras online has become, explain it to me as if I don't already agree with you, or explain it to me or describe it as if I've never heard of it before.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
So I always won, like back in elementary school, whenever the teacher would have that assignment where it's like you had to write instructions for an alien to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So she did this and we all had to write out our instructions. And then she would follow the instructions exactly to the letter. So if someone just said, you know, put peanut butter on the bread, then she'd just put the jar of peanut butter on top of the bread kind of thing. And I wrote such meticulous instructions that she actually made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Now, see, I mean,
And I was the only
I
one.
would have a tough time with that for only one reason, and that would be, I'd have to ask, do I have to identify peanut butter for you? Do I have to like describe jar for you, or will it be enough that I can say lid and the alien will know what lid means?
Yeah, she basically said, you know, like you have to do the instructions, but you know,
Don't
for
worry
all
about
intents and purposes,
terminology.
the alien can read, you know.
Okay,
So
okay.
like,
In that case, I could have done it.
and
could've
like
done
the
it.
alien understands English and can read. So like you know the word lid, even if you've never seen a jar before, if you can read and understand the language, then you know lid is the top of the thing. So you would have to
Okay.
pick it up, open it, you know, pick up the knife, dip it into the peanut butter, you know, spread it on the bread after you've gotten out of the bag, you know. Like it's a very like it was a long assignment for me because like I said, I got really fucking in depth with it, but I was the only one that came out on top.
I mean, I'm
assignment.
picturing myself being as meticulous as after inserting knife into jar of peanut butter, swirl 20 degrees to counterclockwise, you know, like that kind of thing. You know, where it would be like, this is how you get the peanut butter actually onto the knife. Because if all you said was stick knife into peanut butter and then remove knife, there may not be enough peanut butter on there if you don't swirl it around at least a little, right? You know, so I mean, that's the kind of thing I would have gotten into if I'd gotten that assignment and been told that I didn't have to identify all my terms for the alien first.
Yeah, we didn't have to identify terms. We just had to give proper instructions because the alien understood the language but had never made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich before.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that I would have had fun with an assignment like that. It kind of vaguely reminds me of this board game I like called Robo Rally, where you program like 5 steps your robot is going to take to move across the factory floor to touch a flag, right? And everyone else is programming the robot at the same time, and then each card has instructions for what the robot does with a priority on it, so that determines whose move goes first. And so, like, you have to spend your turn going, okay, left turn, move forward 2 spaces. But you know, like each card has a different command on it. You have to figure out where your robot is going to go on the floor. And you also have to navigate around various obstacles or things that might affect your robot. Plus, other robots can push your robot can push other robots, and that can screw up the programming code that you came up with for that particular hand. And so each hand, you get like 8 cards. You choose 5 of them for what your robot's going to do. And you try to navigate a race course of flags around a factory floor with your robots. It's a lot of fun. And
That does sound like fun.
The same kind of like meticulous step-by-step, I hesitate to say programming, but basically programming that, you know, it sounds like you'd have to do with the alien to explain how to make a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, I'm the bitch that when I'm playing something like Rune Factory or Harvest Moon, I'm taking notes about the crops in a notebook, so I know like what to plant, what season with what fertilizer to get what crop. So, but like my brain is like just chaos, like sometimes organized chaos. It's like my
Yeah.
sewing area is like someone looks at it, they're like, that's a mess. How can you find anything? But I know where stuff is. Mostly. Sometimes, stuff gets misplaced, but for the most part, I know where I have everything. Unless I forget that I have that thing, I know where it is.
That's kind of like
And
Same
because
way.
out of sight, out of mind sometimes.
it's kind of
where
like
it's
the
like-
plaque I have. It reads, "Please don't straighten the mess on my desk. You'll confuse me and screw up my whole world."
Yes.
Yep. Oh no, I'm right there with you. I mean, my desk here with my computer and hell, just my desktop on Windows is just a gigantic mess. But if something gets moved, all of a sudden I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
Kate, my motherboard died and I had to reinstall Windows on, I ended up just getting a new hard drive and adding it to my computer, reinstalling Windows on that. So everything I had saved to my desktop, where I had everything, I knew exactly where, all gone.
I have screenshots of some of my customizable menus for 3D Studio Max so that if Max goes bad on me, and it has, I can get my menus and all of my various like customized things back the way I wanted them. And I mean, you can do only so much by copying and pasting the config files you've managed to find. Sometimes you got to do it manually. And I couldn't write it down in a text file, so I did a screenshot of like, okay, here's where the various polygon mesh modifying buttons are. Here's your quick select menu. If Max goes bad on you again, recreate it from this image file. And believe me, that has saved me a lot of headache.
It's not a bad idea.
That actually is a really good idea. But I think the thing, like, it's actually been a bit more recently that I really started thinking about, just how my brain works different. And it was watching, and I know this is going to sound weird saying, oh, it was a TikTok. It wasn't just some random TikTok. She's actually like a science communicator that talks about neurodivergence and ADHD and such. And she gave a talk about emotional permanence and how, a lot of people with ADHD struggle with emotional permanence, where it's like, we have object permanence, where it's like you see an object, it disappears, that object still exists even if you don't see it. You might not remember it because out of sight, out of mind, but it still exists somewhere. Whereas if your partner, if every night before you go to bed, they say, I love you, but then one night they don't, your mind starts spinning out. Like, do they still love me? Did I do something wrong? Did they ever really love me? And so it's like when things change, when you have your emotional like support structure and something changes in it, it can be catastrophic to your like emotional well-being.
The one that kind of spins me out like that is when people don't keep their promises or their appointments. Like, or if they don't do it without calling first. Like if someone, they have to cancel an appointment or whatever, and they don't let me know, that really hurt, like far more than the canceling, the not giving me the opportunity to budget my time is where I start to feel like their lack of regard for me has become unacceptable.
Or like if someone lies to me, that fucks me up.
Tell me you're going to do it so that I'm not waiting for you wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah, but like if somebody lies to me, that really fucks me up, especially if it's a significant other, because I can never remove those seeds of doubt from the back of my mind, where it could be something completely innocuous, but my brain just won't stop. It's just going, like spinning out into all these possible different scenarios, and it's exhausting sometimes.
Okay, here's one that gets me. Tell me if this happens to you too. If you have like an appointment and it's and maybe it is, maybe it isn't in a place that you've never been before, but regardless, you're on your way, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, it was today, right? Okay, good. I checked. It's today. Wait, it is this time, right? Oh, thank good. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
fuck, okay.
Yeah,
I
I've
Wait a
done
minute.
that.
Wait a
especially
minute. It was today at this time, right? You check again. Constantly double checking, but I'm in the waiting room. I've checked in with the front desk, and I'm still checking to make sure it's fucking today at this time.
Yep. No, absolutely. I've been there. Also, I'm very good at losing things. Like once driving from Florida to Massachusetts to go visit family, I did it in one shot. I only stopped for gas. And in one long stretch between North Carolina and I think it was Pennsylvania or Rhode Island. I did like that whole stretch without stopping at all. I lost my lighter like 8 times. I did not move from the car seat I was driving in, and I still lost the damn thing that many times. And like with my ex, when I went to leave, it's a weird thing because again, like if I'm not thinking about something, it's like it doesn't exist in my brain. So like towards the end, I got enough strength to where I would spend the weekends away, staying with a friend in Orlando while I was living in Deltona. And this was like right before I was gonna leave. And I paid for it dearly come, Monday, Sunday night, Monday morning. But it was like that freedom. And then while I was gone, I was playing role-playing games. I was hanging out at a comic book shop. Like it was like I wasn't at all in an abusive relationship until it was time to go home. And that's when the dread and panic would set in. I could go the entire weekend like nothing was wrong until it was time to end. And then I would just fall apart.
I remember my mom would date these assholes who, one of them actually ended up hitting her, and it was shortly after that he was over here. And I remember I was standing at the doorway of my room with a baseball bat. I was about to bash him in it.
Why does that sound familiar? Have you told that story before?
I think I have, yes.
Okay, because that's just sounded way too familiar for it to just be like deja vu or some shit.
I get deja vu all the goddamn time.
Okay, I actually, okay, you know how I've had the whole seizures and all that nonsense, and that got fixed, everything. Well, at one point I had to switch neurologists because, well, it was just getting way too expensive to go see the guy I had been seeing because he was way the hell out in La Jolla. And like the new guy was talking to me and he asked me like, have you experienced any neurological effects or anything? And just sort of like on and offhand sort of comment, I was like, well, aside from a little bit of deja vu, not really, no. And I was mostly like, being silly. I've had a few moments of deja vu, but who doesn't, right? And this guy goes, oh my gosh, we got to order a sleep depth study and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, dude, no, you don't. I just felt like something had happened before for a brief moment. That happened to me before I had the seizures too. It's not a big deal. And then, like I was talking to my first neurologist before, later, and I was going in, the guy wanted to do this sleep depth thing. And I told him no, because why would sleep depth affect me? It's not that kind of epilepsy. It was triggered by food. And my first neurologist was like, yeah, that was a bad idea. The guy should have listened to you better and he should have read my notes better.
Yeah.
It's like that. I don't like to say things in front of doctors anymore because they will fly off the handle and they will stop listening to you.
Yeah, no, doctors have a very bad habit of not listening. And I hate that as someone who has to see a doctor regularly because of my condition. And like, I don't like the feeling of not being in control. Like, on top of my RSD, I also have cataplexy. So if I feel strong emotions, like I get like tingling in my hands and feet. And if I laugh, like I'm talking belly laugh, tears rolling down the face, like a real laugh, I actually become temporarily paralyzed in my arms and legs. And I can't move. Like I'm fully aware for the entire thing. It's not a seizure, but it's just my central nervous system just being wonky. And so my youngest sister, she didn't want kids, doesn't have any, and she does not do poop. And like we were still potty training my son. and she had asked me to give her a back massage while I was there. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I'm, kind of sitting on her butt, like working the knots out of her back. My son comes over in his pull-up and says, I pooped. And he squats down and pulls off his pull-up right next to my sister's head. She starts screaming. I start laughing. And so I have a cataplectic attack. So now I'm pinning this poor woman to the ground with my dead weight. And she's screaming for my dad to come help save her, which is just making me laugh harder. And so once I stop laughing, then things settle down and I get movement and feeling back, but it's literally my limbs go asleep and I can't really move them. So it's like a tingly pins and needles and it's just dead weight. So if you've ever slept on your arm the wrong way and you wake up and you go to lift it and it's just dead, you have to use your other arm to lift it. That's what it feels like. It's just dead weight that I can't lift. But it doesn't have the pins and needles pain. It's not painful at all.
See, that's the part that gets me is the pins and needles pain.
Yeah, it's not painful. It's that same numb feeling, but without the pain. So it's not too bad, but it's still just weird, a weird thing of my brain and biology. But I felt so bad, and there have been times one of my partners or something would crack a joke and I'd be walking and then I'd just start laughing and then I'd go straight down to the ground because my legs just stopped working. I mean, a little chuckle is fine, but if it's something really funny, I'm out. Or if I get really angry or really sad, I'll feel a numbness. So I might drop a glass because I don't have full feeling, but it's really only laughing that triggers the full on paralytic effects.
See,
whereas
now
it's just the numbness.
I wish you hadn't told me that because my wise ass kind of now wants to take it as a challenge to make you laugh and go paralytic. But I know I shouldn't.
There we go.
But there's that tiny evil part of me,
If you ever do, I will make you a bag to celebrate because it takes a lot to get me to laugh that hard.
Really? Okay. Huh.
But I will make you I actually just finished last night. I made a messenger bag for my sister.
Are you really wanting to challenge her with this?
Well, I'm not.
It gives her something to do.
So that's the thing though, is as much as I can be a bit of a dick, I'm not actually an asshole. If you see the difference, where it's I can be a bit ornery at times, but I don't really wish anyone harm exactly.
And here's the thing, it doesn't cause me harm. It's not I'm having a grand mal seizure.
I know, but it still seems mean to do it to you deliberately, and I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But no, like I said, a little chuckle, a little laugh, that's not going to do it. It really has to be the side splitting, I can't breathe, I'm laughing so hard in order to trigger the full paralysis. Though any laughing and I might get a little bit of numbness, but not anything too bad. It's where if I'm laughing, just a regular kind of laugh, I might or even if I'm really upset, if I'm really angry or, really sad, then I might have trouble gripping something because I just don't have the tactile feel of it. So I might drop something or I might have to use two hands and kind of just push them together to trigger the button on my e-cigarette if it's something like that. But I'm still able to move around and stuff. But yeah, it's that really deep belly laughing, laugh till you can't breathe and start crying kind of laugh.
Yeah, I've had nerve damage on my left side from strokes, so I do have how things can feel weird with tactile sensation.
Yeah, it's you can move it, but when you don't have feeling, you're not going to grip it right. So if I'm upset, I make sure that I'm not holding anything breakable because it could slip right out of my hand without me meaning to. And then now I got to clean glass up off the floor, which will upset me more. And it's just going to make the whole episode last longer.
Yeah, it's I can't really feel. It's I can't really feel texture with the hand when it was bad. But I could feel the pressure. I could put my hand on a wall. I know I was touching a wall. But the texture of the wall felt completely different from my left and right side.
Yeah, our brains are amazing and weird all at the same time.
Yeah, there's some strange little effects that I've noticed happening because of like the epilepsy and all of that stuff just left me with some little weird quirks like that. Um, oh, what was the one I was going to mention? There was something very strange that happened. Oh, well, I lost it, I guess. Damn it, I hate that.
Yeah, that
Um,
happens to me a lot too. You go to start
yeah.
saying something, your
Oh,
brain
well,
runs
okay,
off the
okay. I
train.
know what part of it is like I tried to explain to people what like an epileptic aura, at least what mine felt like. And I could never seem to connect with anybody on this one because the only way I could describe it was that it felt like an orgasm that was past its expiration date. It was like, you get that sort of all over body tingle rush, you know? And it comes with that wave of pleasure, right? Well, imagine you get the same tingles, but it just feels wrong somehow. Not like bad exactly, just sort of a little bit gross. Like
More
like
like your
it's-
skin's crawling.
well, no.
No,
It's
no,
more
no.
like the difference between a major key and a minor key.
Okay.
It just has this icky flavor to it. Like it feels physically the same, but somehow it just gives off stink vibes anyway. And
Is
that's
it like,
what
is
an
there
aura
a
would
warmth
feel like.
to it too, or
What?
just is there a warmth to it too, or just the tingle?
I mean, kind of.
Have
but
you
not
ever-
really.
Have you ever had a CT scan with contrast dye?
I'm gonna say no. I've had a lot of MRIs, but I don't think I've ever had a CT.
Okay. Well, if you ever have a CT and they do the contrast dye, they'll put it in via an IV, and it's that same thing. You get this warm flush and tingle across your body, and it is similar to that like orgasm feel, but there's no pleasure with it. It just feels weird.
Well, what you're describing actually sounds remarkably similar to my reaction to marijuana, actually. And like, okay, you know how a lot of people use like weed for pain relief, right? And I'm sitting there going, how the fuck do you do that? Because it enhances every physical sensation I got. And I know how like a lot of neurodivergent people hold ADHD usually, but I guess it probably comes along with autism. Is that various substances will have backward effects. Like I used to
Yes.
use caffeine as a sedative and things like that. It would get rid of headaches, all kinds of stuff like that. And so I can't help but wonder if maybe this is the same sort of thing where I get enhanced physical sensation from marijuana, not pain relief.
Yeah, odd effects with drugs does be common with autism.
See, for
So,
me, I get like, especially with like, edibles, it does give me pain relief, but only because it kind of, for me, replaces it with like a warm, like tingly feeling all over.
Well, I will say that the best weed that I've ever had, and there's a couple of different strains that'll do this, it makes it feel like you've got all of the good parts of having a fever and none of the bad ones. You get that all over just body warmth, or like you just want a burrito up in a blanket and just sort of watch The Price is Right for hours, There's that sort of like lazy, cozy feeling that you can kind of get with a fever, but none of the like, oh, my sinuses feel like hell and I have no energy.
Or
parts,
body aches and fatigue.
Yeah, it's just that sort of warm, I have a fever feeling. My body temperature is elevated feeling without it being bad.
But yeah, so when they give you the CT with the contrast, once they push it into the IV, you will literally feel this warm tingle spread across your entire body.
Huh.
And it's a very unique sensation. And like I said, the closest that I could compare it to would be an orgasm without the pleasure centers being tripped off. But it's like the
Okay.
secondary, it's the secondary characteristics of an orgasm, of that warm, tingly feeling, that you get from like head to toe for at least a really good orgasm.
Well, okay, so imagine like most of that, but instead of like it feeling good necessarily, it sort of feels like someone just walked over your grave, proverbially speaking.
Yeah, that's with this too, because it's not a good feeling. It's not bad. It's just unpleasant. Like it's the
Yeah.
best way to put it. It
Like-
just
like-
it
like-
feels unnatural and wrong because like that sensation is usually coupled with an orgasm, you know, and for like there to be no triggering of pleasure, like it doesn't feel good at all. It just feels.
If there's a warm version of feeling your blood go icy, chilled, you know, like feeling a
Yes.
chill, it's like a warm version of feeling chills.
Yes, that is a good way to
Okay,
do
well
it.
that sounds remarkably similar to a seizure, or like not a full on, you know, like grand mal, but like an aura, an absence feels
Yes,
remarkably
Savage
like
Minnow
that.
knows what I'm talking about. The contrast dye. It's an uncomfortable feeling. Like it doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel bad. Just feels weird and just
Yeah. Well,
it
if
is
I
like
ever
the
have-
warm version of your blood turning cold. With
If I
tingles.
ever have a CT, I will pay the fuck attention. Believe me, because I want to know if we're simpatico on this one. Because if I have to have one, it feels that way. I'm gonna be like, holy shit! Finally, someone understands what a seizure felt like.
It would only
at
be
least
with
a
the
little.
contrast dye though. Like a regular CT, you're not going to feel anything.
Okay, but regardless, I'm gonna make sure my eyes are open for verbal, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
I got you, babe.
Man, I cannot speak today. I've been so hyper all day for some reason. I don't know.
Speaking about
I
hyper, we hear
cannot
in the
always
background
English.
there.
Yeah, no, my son's bouncing off the fucking walls in the other room.
Hmm.
Well, his dad's
I
home
was-
from work and he's
ugh.
just having fun.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what kids are supposed to do at that age.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, maybe not.
Like,
I don't
my
know, it's-
son, I think, has ADHD as well, just because caffeine calms him. It does not make him hyper. It doesn't make me hyper either. It's just when I don't get enough sleep, I get bad headaches, and the caffeine, it does help me, you know, be a little bit more alert, but not awake. And it helps with the headaches that I get from sleep deprivation.
Well, I pretty much limit myself to one Red Bull a day, but I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I think I used to have a tolerance to caffeine that I don't anymore because too much caffeine at once, and by too much, I mean by today's standards, will make me shake, like I've got tremors or something. You know, there used to be a time where I would drink Mountain Dew like a fish, and I can't do that anymore. And I
This
don't
is
know.
my sweet ambrosia, the coconut edition Red Bull.
Oh, see, I like the watermelon. And believe it
Watermelon's
or not,
okay. It's
as-
just a little too sweet.
As someone who hates cranberries, the cranberry Red Bull was so freaking good. Like, seriously, I was actually talking to the guy stocking the Red Bull once. I was like, dude, why don't you have this anymore? He goes, I know, wasn't that the best? It was special edition. You know, we're like standing there in the supermarket lamenting the absence of this flavor. It was really good. And I
So-
fucking hate cranberry. It's weird.
Fun fact, they will come out with a couple different special editions throughout the year. They'll be like the summer edition, you know,
Yeah.
or the winter edition or whatever. And like the watermelon used to be the summer edition and it only came out once a year, but it was so popular and sold so well, they just made it its own edition. This
Yeah.
was a winter edition one year, and then they just made it its own because it was very
I will
popular.
I was
admit,
missing
I
the.
haven't tried the coconut yet. I usually don't like coconut that much, like only in small. I should give it a try. I should, because so many of these drinks don't taste like what they claim to be. So maybe I'll like it.
Well,
I
and
was
this
missing
it's coconut and berry, so it's like a coconut blueberry. But
Oh.
it's sweet, not too sweet, a little tart, but not too tart.
I'll give it a whirl. What the hell?
I love it. It's
I was,
my
mi-
favorite.
I was missing the salted caramel Eggos. Those today.
Oh my gosh, those were so good.
Oh yeah, they were.
Oh my gosh, those were amazing.
They really should bring those back.
Oh man.
I was at the grocery store. We were walking through the aisle. I was looking over the Eggos, like they really should bring those set back.
Oh, those were so good. I can't believe they got rid of them. I was like seriously Augustus glooping myself with those things. They were so good.
If they come back, I'll have to get some for my son because he might actually eat them. Like he's very, very picky about what he'll eat, and he loves
they're-
caramel.
They barely needed syrup. You could eat
No,
them
you-
straight up.
Yeah, you didn't need syrup at all.
They were so good. And I'm a Vermonter saying you didn't need syrup. I'm just saying.
Someone from Canada or Bernie Land saying that, you know it's serious.
Yeah.
Sure. Of course, I have some very specific opinions on ice cream, but that's a different, topic.
I remember-
Not a fan of Ben and Jerry's?
Oh, I adore Ben and Jerry's so much. I take it as a point of pride, even though really I had nothing to do with it, that I got to eat at the very first Ben and Jerry's, the one that was built out of that garage.
Oh, wow.
I got to eat there. I remember it distinctly. It was great. I remember people lining up like it was a fucking Star Wars sequel to eat at Ben and Jerry's there. It was great. I loved the place.
I fucking hate Florida. Like, some flies got in the house and like it keeps fucking landing on me and it's driving me batshit crazy. So if you see me tweaking over here, it's because there's a fly buzzing around my head and I fucking hate it.
I keep a
My
zap
girlfriend
racket right
developed
next
a
to
roach
me.
problem a while back, and I don't mean the fun kind.
What's worse, the American in cockroaches, palmetto bugs, or those German cockroaches?
Honestly,
German cockroaches?
okay, I would actually rather the palmetto bugs, even though they're nightmare fuel, because if you ever get them and they crawl behind your stove, like you can hear that click, 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 click of their feet, and it's fucking horrifying. But the German roaches are the little tiny ones that, like they will infest your shit and it seems like you'll never get them out unless you burn the house down. Whereas palmetto bugs tend to not be that big of an infestation.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that cockroach shit is just one of the most disgusting smells ever.
It's even worse with German cockroaches. They leave a chemical little trail behind.
Ugh.
Yeah, I had a German roach infestation once because somebody like had gone away. Like we didn't have the issue, and then somebody came and stayed with us, and I don't know if they like hitchhiked in their luggage or what. But after that, and it was so hard to get rid of them. It took weeks with an exterminator and us using our own like topical stuff. But we finally got rid of them all. Thankfully. Every now and again, you might see the odd palmetto bug like on the porch or something, but we live in a very wooded area. Like there's like 3 lakes around where I am. Like if I walked 100 feet out my front door, I would end up in a small lake. So, there's maybe a little more than 100 feet because there's the front door and then there's the street. And then on the other side of the street, there's a little patch of woods and then a lake.
Yeah, my area has a lot of palmetto bugs too. So I know how it is.
So
to try and control
Florida's
them.
infested with them. That and the love bugs. Oh my God, they're
They're not-
awful.
No, and one thing that's going to be kind of nice when I move to Vermont, there's no cicadas there, but there are crickets. And crickets are actually not as much of a problem. In fact, in many ways, they are kind of nice to hear. Like on a summer night, you just get the crickets outside and it's just all like cozy and shit. But, so I mean, I'm looking forward to that as opposed to what we got here, which is just a bunch of bugs making as much noise as possible.
I've heard that the love bugs aren't actually an indigenous species to Florida.
No, they're from Germany, I think. They're all descended from Locomotivus herbius or something. I don't know. Love bug, Herbie.
Yeah, I got that.
Honestly, if anyone was going to pick up on that, I would have thought it'd be Diana.
Moo.
I've actually never seen that movie, but I've worked in enough video stores to be well aware of it.
I've seen part of that movie.
Yeah, I'd love to see like a movie or TV show or some sort of special where all of the sentient cars from fiction all have to get together in some gigantic death battle or something. You get like Kit, My Mother the Car, and I don't know.
Christine.
Yes, there's a good one. Christine,
She would win.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, or that big ass truck from the Maximum Overdrive, The one with the goblin head on it? No?
Yeah, I know.
Well, whatever. Point being is like it'd be interesting to have that where it's like Disney's Cars, but actually like good.
So this is my rivet press. I love this thing so much, and it is heavy. Like it's cast iron, so you could literally bash somebody's head in with this thing.
Fun.
It's very heavy. But there are different dies. Like this is a 2 millimeter, I think. 2.5 millimeter cutting die. So it'll cut a precise 2.5 millimeter hole. So I'm going to put some rivets on the little butterfly coin purse that I'm making in where I've done the appliques. So I basically just line it up and punch out the rivets.
I don't know. You talk about what size die you're using. I really only know D4 through D20.
There's D100s.
I know. But honestly, at that point, it's basically just a golf ball. I'm just saying. Usually when people do D100, it's 2 10s.
Yeah, you're just using percentile dice.
Yep. I don't know. It's funny. I actually have an app on my phone for, not so much RPG night, more like a board game night, to determine who goes first. Everyone sticks a finger on the face of the phone, and it chooses that way.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's clever.
You know. I mean, I actually don't know if it's truly random. I can't imagine why it wouldn't be, but, it's just, I'm always curious about that kind of thing. Like, is their algorithm genuinely as random as any computer can be?
I mean, probably not
somewhere.
perfectly, but...
Well, but I mean, like, let's put it this way. Is it operating with any intentional bias?
Probably not.
It's like there have been times when I'm playing VR poker where like the PokerStars VR says there's like some organization or whatever that certified their shuffling program, their shuffling algorithm, and it's supposed to be perfectly fair or whatever. But there are times where I'm on a table and it just seems like the cards really love me. Like, I'm not winning just because the people betting are stupid. I'm getting genuinely good hands consistently. And then there'll be other tables where it's just absolute shit. And rarely is it in between. It's usually one or the other. And I start wondering, is their algorithm as random as they claim? And the same thing with this little app, I have to wonder.
No.
When I was in Vegas, that was my experience. It was either great or awful. But then when I went to Vegas, I had, I'd set aside $200 and that was my gambling money. If I lost it all, fine. I could live without it, and
that's a good policy.
That's my gambling philosophy as well. But I mean, this is all virtual money. And even so, I try to play the game as if it was real money. I try to play the game as if it really genuinely mattered whether I win or lose. And so, I'm not placing wildly reckless bets or anything. I'm doing all the math as much as I can in my head on probabilities of this hand or that hand, that card coming out. And it doesn't seem to matter. I'm still just getting really bad deals. Like I'm not even getting something worthy of bluffing where maybe I might get high card in the end. I don't know. It's like, what am I going to do with offsuit 2 and 7? Right. And it's just, I seem to consistently get hands of that low quality. It's not even a matter of occasionally I get something amazing. It's like, I'm not even hitting mediocre over here. I'm just getting pure crap. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just confirmation bias. Maybe it's just me reacting more to one situation or another. But sometimes it does seem like there's a finger on the scale in that game, and it may be an impersonal finger. It may not be that someone's being targeted, but it does sometimes seem like someone is just getting extra bad luck compared to everyone else, and good luck, vice versa.
Moo.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Castopetenia. Akra. Dolegi.
What
You don't
time is
say.
it? Let's see here. I haven't actually looked in a while.
Pretty late.
Yeah.
It's 10:30.
7:30 here. I'm thinking it might be time for that whole dinner thing that I've read so much about.
I still haven't even played with my bird yet.
I'm just putting these rivets in before I sew in this zipper and sew the coin purse closed.
See, every time you say that, it sounds somehow R-rated. I don't know why.
I mean, if I was going to have a giant dildo, it would not be shaped like a corn cob.
Yeah, see, coin purse is where I was going with that, but okay.
So now we have the rivets. When it's all stitched in, I got to put the zipper in first, but when it's all stitched in, it will be like this, and there'll be a grommet at the top here to hang it on a key chain.
Then you can put your change in the corn and hole.
Oh man, that reminds me of the book that I had mentioned before. Well, it's a short story, really. It's basically what happens if two serial killers meet. Like, you've got one serial killer who picks up hitchhikers to kill them, and then the other serial killer is a hitchhiker that kills the people that pick them up. And then, like, the first chapter is talking about the driver serial killer. The second chapter is talking about the passenger, the hitchhiker. And then the third one is them paired head to head. And it was written by like two guys where one wrote chapter 1, one wrote chapter 2, and then they co-wrote chapter 3. And I mean, it was twisted. But let's just say cornhole, the driver did something to somebody with corn that was not friendly at all.
I don't know. They should. I mean, they should do something similar like that, but where they have two different endings. Like the third chapter is either they kill each other or they team up. Like, you know, chapter 3A and chapter 3B, here's what happens if they join forces. Here's what happens if one of them decides that only one shall live or whatever. You know, there can be only one. I think that would be an interesting exercise.
Well, maybe we can each write a serial killer chapter.
Maybe. I still want to get like some people who can do improv together in a room and make them play Are You a Robot? It's that hidden role game where two people are humans, one person's a robot, and the whole idea is to try to get people either to cooperate or betray each other, where, you know, the robot wants to convert the other human or kill the other human, the two humans want to live, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you get people who really get into it and you get them to record what they do, then I want to animate around that, to make an animation around the things they say, to basically animate the game they played.
That could be fun.
Yeah, because I mean, I played this game at game night with some folks, and we really got into it, and we were like pointing finger guns at each other and like role playing the whole time, and we played like 6 or 7 or 8 games just like concurrently, back to back, and by the end of it, we reached this bizarre level of paranoia that was just like, it was hard to explain. We were all punch drunk. It was weird. It just, I don't know. There was something so visceral about it that I wanted to try animating people who, you know, got into it the way we had, and like making a story out of it.
See, I love playing Betrayal at House on the Hill. That is one of my favorite party games. Where it's everybody starts out and like you're placing down room tiles and exploring.
Yes, okay.
And then like every like room has a trigger and it draws from a deck, so it could be a random thing. And then there will be these different omens, and so after so many omens, the monster shows up. Well, depending on who was in what room and what omen it was, there's the player's guide and the monster's guide. So whoever is categorized as the monster based on like whatever the combination of things was, they go off to read the monster guide and the players read the player guide. So it could be like there was one there was one where you had like a Jason Voorhees and like you had to escape the house. Or there's one where it's like a cult is trying to basically sacrifice you to summon an old one. And so you have to like find the medallion to stop the summoning in order to win. So there's different win conditions based on what the scenario is. And so you never know who's going to be one of the good guys or who's going to be like one of the bad guys until the event is triggered. And it's just a lot of fun because there's so many different combinations of things that it can be. And, you know, it's never the same game twice because even if you have the same people and you get the same like monster, you're going to be in different rooms. The layout, because you're placing down these tiles, is going to be different. So it will never be exactly the same.
Yeah, I've played that at game night. It's a lot of fun. I remember there was some scenario where the monster like was vulnerable to something that the group had just acquired. So it was like, you know, we just sort of insta won because, well, you know, the monster was, but they couldn't even get to us. We just, yeah, okay, here we go. Fire against your ice monster, melt. You know, that level of just insta kill.
But you never know if you're going to have that item or if you're going to have to keep exploring to find it. It's great.
It just amuses me that it was so quickly like brought to a conclusion that one time we played it. There's another game that I keep mixing that one up with because it has a very similar sort of like energy, but it's not the same game at all. There's like this whole thing where people lay out pictures and the person who's running the adventure has to decide if the picture like represents a certain something, or you put out the right picture that accurately represents that or something. There's this weird like timer that does something where everyone is either dead or alive. I don't know. It was this fucked up game and I can't remember the name of it. But every time someone mentions that name, I think of the other game and I can never keep track of which one's which.
Yeah, and another one I really liked is Elder Sign, which is basically Cthulhu Yahtzee. And then there's also Arkham Horror, which is Cthulhu Monopoly. Like, it's an oversimplification, but like with Elder Sign, there are dice and there are cards, and you have to complete so many tasks, and each card is a task, and you have to roll the dice, and then you can like, you know, save the dice and do re-rolls, but if you fail, you lose sanity or health or whatever consequences on the card if you fail.
I've played that. That sounds familiar now. Okay.
Yeah, that's Elder Sign. And it's quick like Yahtzee because like it doesn't take as long as Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror is a big sprawling like tile building game, kind of like Betrayal at House on the Hill, but like you're dealing with like cultists and old ones trying to basically like summon Cthulhu or one of the old ones, and you're going around and it's like Betrayal, but like more like everyone's kind of working on the same side, and trying to like outsmart the old ones.
Maybe we should
Have
start
you ever
wrapping.
played what's it called? I think it's called King of Tokyo. It's basically kaiju Yahtzee. You're all gigantic monsters, Godzilla-sized monsters, King Kong-sized monsters, and you're trying to lay waste to Tokyo while also, you know, defeating the other monsters who all want your spot in Tokyo to destroy Tokyo. So it's like everyone takes a turn being the king of the monsters, the one attacking Tokyo, which can get you lots of benefits, but every other monster is attacking you to get you the hell out of Tokyo so they can get the benefits of being the monster in Tokyo. And basically all the dice will have either numbers or claw marks or various other things on them that either get you like points or abilities or attack power or whatever. And it basically is just a war of attrition at that point.
Huh, that's
Maybe we should start wrapping this up before we need to poke Diana with a stick.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm still hungry, so, you know.
Like, I just, you know, when I get on the topic of like something that I like, I can just roll with it.
Well,
but this was a lot of fun.
Here. Yeah. I mean, I know I got a little bit yelly at a couple of points, but god damn it, I'm so pissed off about this whole thing and have been.
I think you're rightfully pissed off.
Well,
it's like even if we have a agree to disagree moment, it's like I don't think less of you. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand your feelings. Like, we may not have the same approach, we may not agree, but that doesn't mean that we can't both try to do whatever we feel is best to, you know, fix things, because we ultimately want the same goal. We want society to treat people better, and we want our government to work for the people and not for the corporations.
I just don't think we get there by continuing to appease the people who've been in power for so long. I don't think we get there by electing or nominating the establishment like we've been doing.
Well, there's a lot I'd like to do, but I really can't talk about it because I don't want the men in black knocking on my door.
I don't blame you. I mean, being a woman or a trans woman or a queer person, it's a scary time to be one of those in the US right now.
I forget who it was that said something to the effect of run for office. I wanted to do that, and unfortunately, I couldn't scare up the price of admission.
I really do need to get food. It's getting a little critical. I'll see you
Yeah.
guys later. Have fun.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
honey,
honey.
be
I should get
good.
going too. I need to
Yeah,
still play with my
let's-
bird. I'm getting hungry. So
Let's wrap this up, and then we can just take
Alrighty.
care of everything. I'd like to thank everybody who's here, and I'd like to thank everybody who's not here. And you folks keep me going, and I hate you for it.
You know you love us, Di. Don't
Oh
even.
my, oh my. But everybody take care, really. And if you have the wherewithal and the inclination and feel like throwing me an extra $1 or $2 on Patreon, that would be great, because that would help me get back and forth to dialysis. And, well, I kind of need that stuff to keep me alive. You know how that goes. And, okay. Other than that, thanks a lot, troops. See you on the other side.
Night, everyone.